Well, and new dynamics are now driven by.
Yeah.
Family stuff.
Okay. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Welcome from sunny Southern California, home of $6 a gallon gas. This is how do you hear?
Good,
Okay.
we hear you well.
Okay, I see Jen. I see Dan.
Do you want us to tell you who's here, or do you want to
Yeah.
call the meeting to order?
Oh, no, go ahead and tell me who's here first.
Okay, we have Deputy Town Clerk Brooke Boone, Jen Clancy, Colin McLean, Molly Austin, Chris Colley, Andrina, what's your thank you for pronouncing that. Walter Pressbach, Baron Askins, and then for council members, we have Dan Schilling, Elise Morgan, Craig Highmark, and Carolyn Anso.
Oh, Carolyn's there too. I didn't
All
spot
present.
her.
They are all present.
I'm Carolyn. I'm here. Maybe if I speak, that owl will look at me, Roger, and you can see me.
Okay,
Hey,
there you are.
There you go.
Okay, gotcha.
Hey there. At first, the owl's like, okay.
And I see John Goldner is out there, and Jay Springer.
Jay should be on, yep. And then Hans Hoffman should be joining us too.
Okay, well, let's proceed with the work session for this afternoon. I think I have called it to order. And I believe our first item of business is a presentation by the owners of the Shallow Shaft property regarding proposed amendments to the text of the Town of Alta ordinance.
All right. Well, thank you. We really appreciate you getting us on the agenda. I know we had a pretty full agenda today and appreciate the support of the council getting us on so we could have this working session to talk about the proposal that we have been going through with the planning commission. And so I had an opportunity, I think, to speak with all but Carolyn prior to the meeting to kind of just talk through the presentation, get you oriented. Wanted to make sure that we had some opportunity to get feedback directly from you as a council, you know, before we proceeded. And just to bring you up to speed, knowing that we've had lots of discussions with the planning commission, and sometimes that floats up and sometimes it doesn't. We just want to make sure that you're understanding kind of where we're coming from with the current proposal. So I'm joined here, so I am Andrina Hoffman, and I am married to Walter Probsbach. We're the owners of the Shallow Shaft property. We have on the phone Jay Springer, who is our legal counsel, and I think Hans Hoffman should be joining us, and he is the architect that we've been working with on the general design. So we'll get started and walk through it with you. We wanted to share which we have with the planning commission that we have a long time presence within the community. The Shallow Shaft was built, as many of you know, in 1956. It has been a ski shop, a restaurant, and an apartment, and it has been closed since the COVID pandemic in 2020. During the time of the pandemic, which was really between 21 and almost to the end of 2022. We had it closed because of social distancing requirements. It's a small restaurant. For those of you who have been in it, it would have been very difficult for us to run during that time. At the end of 2022, we had learned that Walter might need open heart surgery, which he actually did need in April. And that's a 6 months recovery. And so we worked through all of that, which was doing great. Through that process, and then in October of 2023, we met with Chris to talk about getting on the agenda for the planning commission and walking through what we would like to do. So that gives a little bit of a background of how we got from March of 2020 to ultimately the first time with the planning commission in April of. So we have owned the Shallow Shaft restaurant for 39 years. Walter purchased it in 1986. And through that time, we've had ongoing support for all of the local organizations Alta Historical Society, Alta Arts Council, Friends of Alta, and also Community Enrichment. So we have supported those with donations from the Shallow Shaft. And then we have had ongoing support of the lodges. We've stayed at the Photo House, the Snow Pine, the Alta Lodge, and the Broadford Lodge. So also by way of background, Walter and I met each other when we were ski bums at the Russell Lodge in 1981. And Walter persuaded me to come to Minnesota to see the fall colors change, and it turned out to be a great place to have a family, and I had great employment there with two Minnesota companies. So that's how we met. We encouraged all of our children, once they graduated from college, to also come out here and work, and all of them worked at the Russell Lodge. Our daughters for multiple seasons. And so really the point of bringing this up for all of you is that we have a love for Alta, just like all of you, that is part of our feet. So it's really been something that we've brought our children out to, and have had plenty of ski vacations and supported the local lodges in doing that. So, you know, why are we here? So there's been a lot of changes in Alta for the past 39 years. The majority of our business really came from Snowbird during that time. There's been a lot of changes in Snowbird. When we first started, there were only about 6 restaurants open there, and Snowbird would bring people out to the Shallow Shaft restaurant, you know, for dinner, but that's changed. So they changed significantly over time, and so we were, you know, struggling. I think Walter mentioned that we bought the restaurant in 1986. It was bankrupt at the time. We put a lot of investment into it. We had great chefs over the years, and some of you have certainly the experience of benefiting from all of the great food that they produced. But for the last several years before we closed, we were not profitable in that business, and so put a lot of thought into what we wanted to do differently, which is bringing this proposal forward to you today. So we really want to adapt to these changes and preserve the character Alta in the process of doing that. So our main goal today really is to get feedback from all of you on our proposed text amendments. We are going to present a high-level overview of the Shallow Shaft property redevelopment from the current structure to a building that we think is aesthetically beautiful and one that can be a source of pride for the town of Alta. Again, as part of the submission, you do have to put together a high-level plan. That's what we have here. Obviously, we understand that any kind of approval by the council doesn't give approval to the plan, and we may make changes as we're working through all of the code requirements if we get a positive recommendation moving forward. So goal here is to talk about the text amendment. I'll talk a little bit about some of the history that was involved in putting that together, and we'll provide a high-level overview of the proposed redevelopment. Ultimately, we want to replace the outdated structure with a modern, energy-efficient design. We want to reorient the building to better fit the lot and optimize solar exposure. We'll talk a little bit about how we want to do that. We want to ensure full code compliance. So the codes have changed quite a bit since 1956. We've done some things to keep up with the code, but ultimately it is an old building, and we want to you know, kind of tear it down and put it in a nice new building. We want to focus on health, safety, and sustainability. And we want to repurpose the restaurant to a compact hotel use as a retail space. So I'll share with you site maps and updated exterior views of the building. So the amendments, so the wording of the amendments had kind of an iteration process. What you will see are wording that has been agreed upon with consultation between the Alta Town staff and their legal counsel. Polly and our legal counsel, Jay Springer, have worked on the wording of all of the changes that we are asking for. One is related to a definition, and then the permitted and prohibited uses, and then the lot area width and slope requirements. So as we talk through the new definition, we had a lot of discussion with the planning committee, both at our April 2024 meeting and our March 2025 meeting, about whether or not the hotel that we wanted to put in, we were calling it a boutique because the hotel at the time could have kitchens within the hotels. There was strong feeling from the staff and the legal counsel that the code did not allow hotel rooms to have kitchens. Now, we were we kind of agreed to disagree on that. We felt that the code didn't restrict that. But in the process of kind of doing a freedom of information request to understand how several of the lodges within town, so there's 3 or 5 major lodges, as you know, but 3 of them actually do rent out space for the hotel rooms, have kitchens, so. The Snow Pine Lodge does the penthouse suite, and that is rented out and it has a full kitchen. The Russell Lodge does have the owner suite, and that is rented out and it has a kitchen. And Gold Miner's Daughters has 3 junior suites and also have washer and dryer. So when we were trying to understand how those things got approved through the town, I was up actually meeting with the mayor and Chris. And Chris suggested to me that there might be a way for us to move forward with our proposal. And he wanted to sit down and talk with me about it. And so that kind of resulted in these text amended changes. So those were kind of post the 2025 meeting that we had with the town. And so it's through that process that this got developed, and really the recommendation is that we developed a kind of a new use that can be added to the town of Alta that would allow us to do what we wanted to do, which is to have hotel rooms with kitchens associated with them. So we should develop a new use, and it was also recommended that that new use was made specific to Zone C only. And so that's what we did within these definitions here. So the definition of the proposed use, we first started with the boutique hotel and through the discussions between our legal counsel and the town, came up with this terminology called the compact hotel facility. And so this is a small lodging facility located within Zone C of the base facility zone, containing no more than 8 guest rooms, including any on-site worker housing units as may be required by the Alta Code. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary, the Alta Code guest rooms in a compact hotel facility may include in-room or shared kitchen and kitchenettes for guest use. So that was the jointly developed definition. Now, ultimately, as you know, when we came back to the planning commission in March of this year, the planning commission had a neutral recommendation on this particular definition, but had a suggestion that kitchens and kitchenettes should be replaced with shared provisions for cooking. We had a discussion with our legal counsel about that, and as you know, for me, the staff report of legal counsel supported that we would be willing to make this change. So wanted to, kind of share that with you. There was some discussion in the staff report and also just some discussion in the planning commission about whether or not it was equitable within the town to only allow this within Zone C. And wanted to share with you that we were asked to do that. We could live with this was, if you want to apply it to all of the base facility zone, it wasn't a requirement on our part that we were asked to do that by the town, so that's why it's in there. So we want, things to be equitable across all of the base facility zones, so I wanted to share that with you. There was also a discussion in the staff report as to whether or not allowing 8 guest rooms gave a density bonus to Zone C that didn't exist in other parts of the base facility zone. So just wanted to share with you that the understanding of the code is that you can only have 33 guest rooms per net developable acre. But also wanted to share that the Snow Pine Lodge, which is on 1.15 acres, its net developable area based on setbacks required by presumably the council is less than 1 acre. And so the Snow Pine Lodge has 54 guest rooms, not 33 guest rooms. So we're not wanting to be inequitable, across the base facility zone. Certainly what we're presenting for the change in the shallow shaft is for 5 rooms. I think it's noted if it was 33 rooms for our size, it would be 6. So we would fall within that. But again, the definition was looked up by the legal counsel, and also wanted to share that we are not trying to create a situation where there's a density bonus for our area. Because we probably get a density bonus at the Snow Pine Lodge right now. Okay. Now we talked about the permitted uses, so you have to put in the new definition into the part of the code that allows the permitted uses. We had shared 3 alternatives at the March meeting based on discussion with the planning commission. That was all submitted as part of the slides here. I thought for simplicity purposes in terms of presentation, I would just focus on the last 2 items here. You certainly have the first one in your package, but that would be no requirement. It's clear to us that there's something more that would be important things to add to the town, and we are certainly willing to do that. So, but just to keep in line with what we actually presented, so this was presented at the December meeting. And this was based on a discussion again with the legal counsel between the town and our legal counsel. So this is how it was changed. So in the permitted uses, there was a determination that I should also state for all base facility zone. And these are the permitted uses that are currently in the code, and then when you drop down to item C, it says notwithstanding the foregoing. In subsection B, the compact use hotel facility is an additional permitted use. Again, it's stated in zone C only, but it would have to be. A compact hotel facility may include as an accessory use a retail commercial service identified or consistent with subsection A.3 above. And that no additional parking may be required for the accessory retail commercial service use contained within the same structure as a compact use hotel facility, provided the accessory use occupies no more than 400 square feet. So that was a suggestion that came from the town that we would add that to the code. So on the next slide, the town, that basically the planning commission came back to us in December and said, hey, we really think it's important that accessory retail space should be required, so we want to have modified wording there. So what I'm showing here in blue is the modified wording that I showed you last time. That a compact hotel facility shall include as an accessory use a retail commercial service. And that notwithstanding the foregoing, the town council or its delegee may waive this requirement for retail commercial service provided such waiver is in writing. So we presented this at the March meeting. The planning commission had a neutral recommendation, and that included that the phrase or its delegee be removed from the final sentence, that only the town council should be allowed to waive this requirement for us. So it's stated a little bit differently in the staff report. It says that the planning commission said even the town council shouldn't be allowed to do this once this was stated. But Chris, I went back and I looked for the meeting minutes, which aren't posted yet. I re-listened to the end of the meeting, and that's how I heard it, but we can talk now.
So the question is whether the commission's action was to forward a neutral recommendation for no possibility of exception, or for the town council to be.
I think the way I heard it in the meeting is that the planning commission said, their recommendation shall be that only the town council would be allowed to waive the requirement. So that's, so again, check for meeting minutes, they're not posted yet, I just re-listened to it, you and I can, I'll kind of take a look. Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
So one of the things that we, wanted to share with you also, and that, staff report, one of the questions was, are we doing enough? As the Shallow Shack property owners to activate the commercial core of the town, is this enough? Is having a cafe and this compact use utility enough to activate the commercial core? So we wanna share is that we do feel a responsibility to activate the commercial core within the town. We heard from the planning commission that they really wanted that there was a loss of having the restaurant go away, but it'd be very difficult, or not possible for us to bring the restaurant back based on our last several years of experience. So we put in the cafe, into the compact hotel facility based on feedback from the planning commission. So we feel responsible to activate the core, but we are a very small business relative to all of the lodges that are also at the base facility zone. So we think that what we are doing with the cafe is commensurate with the small business that we have. The lodges are much bigger businesses than we are in terms of revenue generation, so we feel a responsibility to do it, and we will do it. And we understand that the council wants it, and we'll be good for it now as well. Right. So the lot area width and slope requirements. So this is something that we had presented in the November meeting. We had taken some feedback from the planning commission, and it was updated. And the wording again was reviewed by legal counsel from both sides. And this is the wording that was suggested. So notwithstanding the foregoing, any lot or parcel in zone C that existed as a separate legal lot or parcel prior to January 1, 2025 and has not been subdivided or otherwise modified since that date shall be determined or deemed to meet the minimum lot area with requirements of the code, despite the net developable area being less than 1 acre for the purposes of any development application. Such lots shall be developed in accordance with all other applicable zoning regulations, including lot coverage, height, regardless of whether or not the lot meets the current dimensional standards for lot size and width. Provision may not be deemed to modify the slope requirement in subsection A above in any way. So this would be an overall grandfatherly income of the properties within zone C. My understanding is that the photo house has already been grandfathered in. It was a t-shirt shop, employee housing in the apartments. But is now, both of them are, I guess, the units of the photo house are considered dwelling units or residential units, which are typically not allowed within the base facility zone, but were grandfathered in for that particular piece of property. So we were, the other building is zone C, so we'd like to be grandfathered in as well. So considerations for the proposed text amendments, I already shared that the application that the owners have submitted is for the text amendment only. The plans that I'm going to show you are requirements provided as part of providing the text amendment, but we do understand that when we get any plan that will require a future application. So it's also want to point out that it's very common in zoning to recognize that lots of parcels that have been in the around without change for long periods of time. It avoids concerns over gaming the system with the new owners, and the Shallow Chef building has been part of Delta since 1956. There's a lot of discussion about, hey, this is a large change for the town to be making. We don't obviously consider it a smaller change. We think that there have been prior changes that have been pretty large, for the town of Delta. So in kind of in the 2014-2015 time zone, the base facility zone allowed an increase in coverage from 25% to 65%. And that would benefit all properties in the base facility zone, even zone C, but because zone C was considered non-conforming due to lot size width requirements, we haven't been able to take advantage of that, even though it would say that we could. So just wanted to point out that that resulted in 160% increase in coverage for the properties in zone A and zone B. And for non-conforming structures, only allowance for a 250 square foot expansion for rebuilding non-compliant structures and for the shallow shaft. The calculation that would have been a 6% increase in coverage. So again, the staff report talks about, wanting to make sure that we have equity across the base facility zone. We would appreciate that equity as well too. And it's clear from kind of the changes in zone A with respect to the Snow Pine Lodge. The Snow Pine Lodge was allowed to tear down, rebuild, And they are less than 1 net developable acre, so they would be considered a non-conforming structure according to the code. And the current code doesn't allow for non-conforming structures to tear down, reposition, and expand. The code at the time when Walter bought the Shallow Shaft did allow that. There was an allowance for non-conforming structures to tear down, reposition, and expand. That was taken out of the code at some point, we were unable to determine exactly when that point was. And then there's also concern about precedent setting or similar concerns. We think can be addressed, through text amendments and appropriate wording. We do, kind of see how the council has really supported the businesses within the base facility zone with respect to the increase in coverage. I know that that was brought on because there was a concern at the time. The code allowed all the buildings to go up to 60 feet. There was a concern about how that might impact the Phileas and Alta, and so that's why it was changed to allow coverage increase for buildings within the base facility zone rather than, a height increase. And so we appreciate all of that and all of those changes. And I think those are good changes where the council was demonstrating that, the businesses need to grow and develop, be supported. And that change was supported, for them as well too. Changes supporting the rebuilding of the remodeling of the photo house. And also the changes with respect to the stop line. So we think that these things can be managed, and we have seen the council support the development of the businesses, and hopefully we will receive similar support. Pause there, that's all the text amendment changes. I was just gonna share the plan overview with you, but wanted to pause, I think, see if there's any questions on the text amendment. Okay, you see that. So wanted to first present a site map. So this is a survey that Walter had conducted in 2013, which is very consistent with identical to the survey that we had at the time that the property was purchased. And so the black line on the survey is the lot line for our property. And it demonstrates that actually the lot line does extend out into the asphalted part of the road, and that has been used for parking for the Shallow Shaft restaurant when it was open, and has subsequently been used as part of the north side parking that's been going on within the winter time. So what we have here is just a side view of the new structure laid over the old structure, so you can see the outline of black of where we want to place the new structure. We had received feedback over time that the current structure was butting up right against the forest road, and it would be nice if we could move the structure away from the forest road. So we did that with respect to the design. It opens up green space between the buildings and reduces crowding. I think we had some questions during the planning commission about, what was the exact coverage of the old structure versus new structure? Were we including all of the things required by the code to be counted in coverage? And we are. The old structure has 44% coverage, and the new structure has 51% coverage. And when I show you the plan views, they are from the road, so you can't really see that there would be all this open space behind the structure between the Alta Town Office, the photo house, and Alta Central. So we think actually orienting the structure in this way is a more efficient use of land. It allows us to optimize solar exposure for better energy efficiency. We're going to put solar panels on the front of the building. It also includes covered parking for functionality and safety. From architectural alignment, Hans Hoffman used the Shallow Shaft design as inspiration for this new design. And we want to design something that blends in right with the other buildings, so that it's aesthetically pleasing to people as they're coming up to town about time. So this is what the front of the building as currently designed would look like. The lower level, it has covered parking, and the cafe retail space would also be on the lower level. The second and third levels are the 5 hotel units and an employee housing unit. We have a roof designed to support safe snow removal and run. From a health, safety and sustainability standpoint, this would be up to code requirements. We would have safe egress for all of the living quarters. We want our renewable energy source, so we feel like orienting the building, we south facing, but we get lots of sunshine, lots of exposure for solar panels. So that we are aiming for 0 external energy consumption. We've also had discussions on the parking garage with UDOT. We know we have to get approval for that structure. Before moving forward, we've had preliminary discussions with them. They have a very staged process to go through when you have your final engineering designs. But we discussed the overall concept. The first concept that we brought forward had the garage entrance on the side of the unit. Got feedback from the town that the planning commission, they didn't like looking at a concrete wall, so we have changed the design to incorporate that feedback. Also got feedback from UDOT that they don't want anybody backing out onto Highway 210, so we have to incorporate a way to go inside the building, turn around and come out nose first, and so that's incorporated into the design of the parking lot. We'll put electric vehicle charging stations. Walter feels very strongly about, when you're going down the canyon, to take your foot off the brake, and it's really saves a lot of energy, and so a really nice thing about electric vehicles. So we also had indicated to the planning commission and both of our meetings in April of 2024, March of 2025, that we would dedicate a parking space for use of the town that would be allowed for community access. And so the supplement vitamin could be for the town marshal, so then the town marshal wouldn't have to shovel snow, they'd have to get out and do something. So we think that that would be important for safety. So the design, it would have a green roof, would be a high performance building. Have any questions about that? I think hopefully Hans has joined us on the call. And so we would meet all energy code requirements and installation and ceiling. We also got some feedback about the design with respect to avalanche safety. We know as a requirement for the building that we must do a 100-year avalanche study. We've requested old avalanche studies that have been done in this area just to make sure that we understand what goes into those. The avalanche studies have to be based on the final design of the building. So we won't do that until we have the final design. So if you change anything about the design, it makes the avalanche study. So we want to get close to that before we do that. And so I just want to end with how we think this proposal supports the town of Alta. So we have incorporated the planning commission and community feedback. We provided, there's affordable housing to support workforce stability and retention. We put in the cafe retail space as a valuable community gathering spot. We talked in the last meeting in March, we think the design of the overall building will allow us to be open in the winter and the summer. So even when we were open in the winter, probably as Mary knows from Alta, maybe Alta maybe the same there, but even in the winter, the business is seasonal within the winter. So we had our heaviest business around kind of the Christmas timeframe and in February or March, and it's much lighter during the rest of the season. So we think with the smaller building structure that we could be open in the summer and in the winter, which would potentially add sales revenue, to. So we have a environmentally conscious development, so we wanted to blend into Alta's natural beauty for minimal visual impact, the efficient insulation and solar panels for sustainability, and we think with the covered parking will have improved and snow removal will be more efficient, and we can provide a designated spot for the town of Alta Marshall, or if the town would delegate that to somebody else. And then lastly, we think that this creates a small transient lodging options that fit in with Alta's tourist-driven economy. We've seen that other businesses within the town have done something similar. We will have ADA access to ensure inclusivity for all visitors. Talked about the year-round use. We think this, that probably will end up in increased property taxes and sales revenue to help fund infrastructure and town services. And will boost tourist spending, in terms of lift ticket sales, on dining, retail purchases, and local business support, so. That's what we had. Good presentation. So Mayor, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, let me turn it over to members of the council to ask if there are any questions. Andrina? I appreciate, Andrina, you're going around and talking to each of us and getting most of our questions already answered. So that's been helpful. This is not new data to anybody here.
I wanted to add that I appreciate that you have done a lot. I mean, I feel like in a way you gave us a building proposal, but I also just got like a business proposal from you. Like, we're gonna run it this way, and I hope that's how it gets run. And I want to also commend you for doing a building that is environmentally conscious and the green space. And I mean, that is a lot of extra effort that's you don't have to do, but I really appreciate that you guys are hoping to do that as part of this design.
No, it's really important to us from an environmental standpoint. Walter and I are both environmentalists, not quite hippies from the '60s because we were growing up then, but our children think we are, so.
And I wanted to add that really appreciate the fact that he's taken a very collaborative approach. Code compliance issues can get more somewhat contentious, and we've recently experienced some stuff that was not done as collaboratively, and really appreciate that. That said, I want to make another comment and then a question, but questions to Chris. The comment is, I think this really emphasizes the fact that we need to do the general plan update like last year. All right, and I know we've got a lot on our plate, and I appreciate that, but I really feel like we've got to do a plan update. And the fact that we're supporting businesses by doing one-off variances is not as well defined as I would like. The question is, I generally like to look to the town staff to get some guidance on these issues, particularly because I don't attend all the planning commission meetings. So, and I haven't seen a recommendation one way or the other. And maybe that's actually the wrong question. Maybe the right question is, if you were sitting here in my spot, how would you, Chris, vote on this?
Well, if I were sitting in your spot, it would be my first time hearing a presentation or having the opportunity to discuss.
So you can't down so
I would
easily answer. Chris.
I know. So, in my back pocket. No, I mean, look, this is an important proposal. What is this? This is two years and a month after the first planning commission meeting.
Yeah.
When these guys came to make a presentation in a public meeting. I suppose this is the 6th public meeting you guys have come out to attend.
This is our 6th meeting.
Right, yes.
Yes.
So 5 planning commission meetings.
Yeah.
And you just, I appreciate how recent events following COVID or starting with COVID led you to this proposal. I hope I don't. I know that conversations about the future of the Shallow Shaft building have been ongoing for longer than that, and I'm glad that we found this pathway to discuss this proposal, because it really does bring up, it brings up, a condition that exists on the Zone C parcels that has long been a constraint. It's true that without the minimum lot size and width change, text amendments that they're proposing, or some alternative that would have the same effect, those buildings are stuck in their existing footprints and with their existing mass. They're very small properties. They're like 0.21 and 0.3 acres respectively. 0.13. Sorry, yes, 0.13. The Deep Powder House across the street is perhaps even smaller than that.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 of our 8 commercial properties are revenue generating sales tax revenue generating core of the town. You don't include ski area facilities, which are of course on national forest, that are kind of, yeah, bound to the more or less the structures that have always existed on those sites, you know, as to whatever was there in the 1870s. So this is that's an important conversation to have. In terms of the use, this is gonna sound impersonal, but I hear some planners talking about master planning and various regulation changes. You know, like the shaft is underperforming, right? It's an underperforming property. It's a pure restaurant. It's been one since, I mean, it was originally the Powder House. And then it became like Paul Giver, you know, was it there or something, and then it became a restaurant, right, in the 60s, and it continued on in that general use for a long time. There are apartments in the basement. There are some people in the room who've taken up residence in there for periods of time. And it's just kind of part of the woodwork here in Alta. I know that I looked at those two buildings on my way to work every single day the last 12 years, which is not my entire time in Alta. And they've basically been there in that same form. And the restaurant, I think we can all appreciate the challenges of running a pure retail commercial establishment without any other kinds of services here in Alta. I don't know who would be swiping their credit card today. Maybe some Big D employees on their way up to the Albion job site. Maybe whoever is working at the Alta Lodge, the roofing crew that's over there today. But there are always roofing crews and large commercial construction crews up here during interim. Often they're not. So anyway, it's an important proposal because I think it highlights things that we've long known about Alta's economy, the nature of the private property that exists to develop in Alta, and our zoning regulations and our general plan. Craig, you're absolutely right. This is a general plan question. The precedent concern, anytime you change a zoning ordinance, it could be construed to set a precedent. In the conversation about the Schranz estate, there were a number of reasons, I think if I recall correctly, that the council declined to approve the petition to rezone to develop a condominium property. One of the reasons was the concern that by allowing condominiums over there, it's not technically in the base facility zone of commercial core, but it's adjacent to the commercial core. So the council, or at least members of the council, were of the mind that the town would either be sort of ethically obligated to, or would in the future be convinced to allow condominiums in the base facility zone, and that the change, and that would be a major change in our general planning outlook and in the regulations, and it would, to allow condominiums in the base facility zone would definitely set up the possibility of wholesale change in our commercial properties. Condominiums can be individually bought and sold. They are by definition individually bought and sold. So that would be a huge change, right? The lodges have operated in their existing business model since the beginning of time, more or less, or the mid-30s, let's say, and they provide this warm kind of you could say rare social environment with ancillary services and all that. This is not a condominium proposal. So there's nothing in the text amendment that would allow these individual units to be bought and sold or individually held. That's expressly prohibited in the beginning of the base facility zone ordinance. I think it's called out in the general plan. If the council were to allow this use in zone C, and then either in the same decision or down the road, a future council, let's say, were to allow that use elsewhere in zone C, which it's not currently, would it have as much of an impact as allowing condominiums? I don't think so. But it would still have an impact, right? It could still have an impact. I mean, if all the hotel rooms in Alta were allowed to have provisions for cooking, they would use more culinary water. And if they use it, all the hotel rooms in Alta use more culinary water, we would exceed our water contract volume, and that would be bright red line, and we would be that'd be a bad situation. Would it lead the hotels to, no longer offer as many jobs because they don't need the dining rooms they've had or the bars and ancillary services? Maybe, it's hard to say. So anyway, that's a significant issue that the council has to discuss. Whether to allow it across the base facility zone or just in zone C. It was my idea, and it was my recommendation to write a text amendment to only allow it in zone C, because it's just a much bigger deal to change the whole base facility zone ordinance, in my opinion. Anyway, so that's one of the key topics here. The minimum lot size issue is also a key topic. Again, these are two in zone C itself. There are two very small properties that don't comply with the minimum lot size ordinance. They will always be constrained to those existing footprints plus a small additional, like a 250 square foot addition of gross floor area. So if we want to allow flexibility on those properties in the future, this is a way that we could do that. I think the reason why that minimum lot size, it was either not changed because it didn't occur to the town to change it, or because those properties are significantly smaller than the smallest minimum lot size permitted in Alta, which is a half acre in the forest and recreation zone, and a full acre has always been required for commercial use, I believe.
I was on the planning commission when we were doing the base facility zone, and zone C was. We talked about zone C a lot, like zone C was a constant thing, and it was finally decided that we would just make that zone its own special zone, with knowing that these lots were outside of these configurations that we were having on the other zones. And that's the one thing I wanted to note about this, and I actually like your recommendation that we kind of for now just allow this in zone C, because zone C already has so many unique things to it. I don't believe that allowing some of these changes that they're requesting in zone C to overflow, because zone C already has like 3 things that are different than the other zones. Like, it's already so special in that it has all these things that are grandfathered in. So part of me is like, it's already this own strange zone. Like, it's already been this strange, it's got, the net available acreage, like there's a bunch of other things in there that are kind of constrained by the buildings that have been there for a long time. And when I was on the planning commission, we were kind of just like, let's just leave it. And when we talked about allowing the other businesses to expand their coverage and not do height anymore, when I was on the planning commission, we said zone C couldn't do that because they already were outside of this, right? So it was kind of like one of those things that got applied to everywhere else, but didn't get applied to zone C. And we had a long discussion. I mean, even the council had a long discussion about it. But there's a couple of things that, like, when we have 10 more minutes to talk about this, that I wanted to bring up that I have found concerning about this whole thing. The fact that we have 3 lodges in town that have kitchens in their hotel rooms that I knew that they were sort of these suites and studios, but I didn't realize that we didn't have code for this. So one, I would like us at some point to address that in these other zones, because they already happen. I mean, I went on the website.
And so I'm gonna piggyback on that. One thing that you continued to say was you were all about equity, right? And want to make sure there's an equalness around here. So the problem with that is that each of those hotels has one special suite.
No, it's not true. I went on the website. Gold Miners has 3 junior suites that have kitchens. The Snow Pine actually has a couple hotel rooms that have kitchens and a large suite that has a large kitchen. Bressler is the only one that has an owner studio. I went on the website
But
this morning,
she's,
you
they
know,
are asking for a kitchen in every single room.
We are not.
That's not what she said.
No, we're
No.
not.
That's not what she said.
No, I'm sorry, and I should.
Some shared cooking space.
So I get it was in the staff report, there was something that may have implied that, but basically the way that units are set up now is on the bottom floor. There's one full kitchen. There's two units, one room that can be locked off of that full kitchen. There would have things that would exist in a normal hotel room, like fridge, microwave, wouldn't have its own full kitchen. And there's another unit that can't really be adjoined to the other one except in the entry. Same thing, just will have like a fridge and a microwave, and then the upstairs unit has a central kitchen and 2 rooms off of it that can access that central kitchen. And the one unit that could be a lock-up could have a mini fridge and a microwave. So it's 2 kitchens.
So let me add that, I know that's be the case from the proposal, but the text amendment would allow for all the units in, allow for.
Cooking facilities, which could be a microwave.
Sure,
And it's,
That's why,
because it changes everything in the town about that. If you're allowed to have a kitchen in every single room, you could have it sort of like a condo. I am going to rent room 100 for the entire season. And so it changes what might happen in the Gold Miners when they remodel, what might happen in the Peruvian when they.
but that's already could happen. That's what I'm saying, is these studios and
so-
units
so it
technically could happen.
No,
but they-
it can't.
Yeah.
Because those units were not permitted. I
Correct.
found no evidence that the
Yes.
units of the gold miners were permitted. I've also found no evidence that in owners' suites or anything of that nature were expressly permitted as transient accommodation space, which count towards density at either the Rustler or the Snow Pine. So that is a known situation to us, and we are working on it right now. So it can't be permitted under existing zoning. The proposal as they've written it today is only to allow it in zone C. My recommendation is for the council to contemplate whether, if it likes it in zone C, whether to permit it elsewhere or just to
Right,
keep it
and
to
that's
zone
what
C
is
for now.
terrifying, because then that could change the entire town.
Hmm.
This one decision could change the entire town.
That's why I said it needs to be a general plan issue.
Yeah.
The question is whether we make yet another exemption for a particular business, because we should support our businesses, there's no doubt about that. And like you, I can understand how they arrived at their proposal. But, we've got to stop talking about the general plan and actually frickin' do it.
And I don't take issue
could
with
do
the
it.
reorientation or what you're trying to accomplish there. I'm more terrified for what you're asking is precedent setting for the entire town.
So the thing that I was talking to Roger about though this morning is unfortunately the precedent has been somewhat set for us by these other lodges. So these other lodges have not gone about the right way of either doing a remodel or doing a new construction or taking what was once an owner's unit and now renting it out as part of their hotel room. Here we have somebody that is trying to go about it the correct way, for a specific zone that already has so many little, you could call them precedents about the zone. Plus John, which is in the zone, was a retail space with 2 units and is now a vacation rental, dwelling rental with no retail space. So part of me, I would love for you guys to keep it as a restaurant. Don't get me wrong, but I get it. All the lodging up here comes with the food. I mean, it's so hard to run the business. And while I would love to see you continue to operate the way you were, I understand why it's hard. But every time I try to think of, and I talked to this about with Roger this morning, I try to think of something that maybe I don't want to support you because of a reason. We've already allowed someone else to technically do it, whether we knew about it or not, it's happened.
But just
Like,
because that happened in the past
But-
doesn't mean you should.
Correct, but at the same time, here's
Not issue a building permit for a remodel to
Correct.
turn guest rooms into suites under the current ordinance.
correct. And so, but part of me is also like these, here we have a business that is sitting there, not employing anybody. There's, maybe there's a caretaker unit in there, but I don't know, because the building is old, it needs remodeling. They're trying to do something with this property and trying to contribute to the town. And so part of me, I want to support you in the way that this goes through in the correct manner. But I'm also like, it's happened in these other places already for some of the kitchen. Like every time I try to think of something that would tell me not to, I can't think of a reason that we haven't allowed it, whether we knew about it or not. It happened.
Can I?
Go ahead.
I would like to say something before we run out of,
Yeah,
we have 5 minutes.
Go for it.
So two observations from my optic. The building is becoming more dilapidated and oxidizing as we sit here. We cannot expect these people to pour money into something aesthetically, which is try and rectify it cosmetically, if it has no other purpose. So from that standpoint, if we do nothing, I think we're failing. Second thing I'd like to say is I want to compliment you, as you did, both Walter and Adrina, for the positive and continued patient approach in the spirit of what the town is, because I think you do represent that. I think you've done an exceptional job. I'm a big fan of property rights. As I've said before, I worry about things to make sure that we go forward as best possible to protect the town. But I don't see anything from these owners who are trying to do something on a postage stamp, which is what everybody has there. And we constantly say, we talked about it, I've watched it on town council for years, we need to invigorate the business district. Man, that is a really good example of the starting point, not the finalized thing or how many kitchens. And I just think we should continue to work with you and support you. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, we're 4 minutes from the end of this. John Golden, did you want to say something? You got on mute.
I always kind of considered it part of my job is to put the council and the mayor at ease, because a lot of things come up in these meetings and you all will say, holy Moses, did we do that? Is that really true? Well, so there's a couple of things here. The Snow Pine is not non-conforming. The Snow Pine is totally conforming. They have 1.15 net developable acres. They don't lose any developable acres for a regular setback like the side yard or the rear yard setbacks. You lose net developable acreage for setback from a waterway, which is something that affects the shallow shaft. So the Snow Pine is not non-conforming. They're totally conforming, and they follow except for the kitchens, which we had no idea they were doing. They followed the ordinance explicitly. So don't worry that we did something wrong with the Snow Pine. They're compliant. And the other thing, the old ordinance, because I had talked to Walter numerous times in the past 30 years, and at one point it would have been desirable to tear down the shallow shaft, rebuild it in a newer, nicer building a little bit closer to the road. Our old ordinance would not allow that. You could not do that to a non-conforming structure. Today, the new ordinance, you can tear down, rebuild, and add 250 gross square feet. So those are a couple of the things, pardon me?
I've done 1989 code, I brought it with me, I will read the sessions with Chris, but the code did allow it.
No, it was not allowed before because otherwise it would have been done. It is now allowed under the new non-conforming that was passed kind of alongside with the base facilities zone. But, so just a couple of inconsistencies that I wanted to point out so that you're not worried about, well, what could they do and what could they not do and what's going on at the Snow Pine and what isn't. And Chris is right. We never permitted kitchens in any of these structures. If somebody does something illegally, that does not set a precedent. So
And I guess just to speak to the point that John and Andrina both made, ordinances can and do change. General planning priorities can and do change. It's certainly the case in Alta that they've rarely changed without a significant amount of blood, sweat, and tears. And I think that these guys have gone through a fair amount of that with us. So, which doesn't say anything about the outcome, but I do appreciate you guys working with us. I agree, it's been collaborative and, I think you've teed it up really well today.
And I think, Chris, you were very wise to make this a working session, not a decision period.
Yeah.
The issues are complex enough, we may need another working session, because you rattle off a bunch of stuff in your very artful non-answer. That I'd just like to see, I'd like to see that, because some of the text is not in this particular change. Sure.
Yep.
Okay,
I'd like to wind this up unless someone has something urgent to say. Okay, my thought is, if not this, what?
No.
And okay, I would like to. We need a motion to adjourn the work session.
So moved.
Thanks, thank you guys.
All in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, work
Yeah.
session is adjourned. We will commence the town council meeting at 5 minutes after the hour.
Thank you.
Dan will be right back. He had a quick phone call.
Thank you for noting that.
Yeah.
I might have not put a note that. I appreciate that.
Mostly. They're further along than it's been in the. Because the cell phone that I was earlier.
Okay,
That's your daughter now.
So do you?
Almost four
They're all
now.
different. That's your point.
It's pretty funny.
So the Silver Hat Road in the summer.
You just go see Basil where she's like super. Yeah, and I didn't spend, mom, I didn't spend, like, so just sit there sometimes, I'm like, and I know it'll go away when they get older, so I should appreciate it, but it's just things that I didn't think about as being a parent, like, that I didn't see in my other friends' kids. Or like, yeah, just not being able to leave my room, like, she freaks out sometimes. The other times she's so independent, but yeah, sometimes, yeah, she literally just like kisses my hair, or she pats me. Or just like, like, oh, there she goes. So I'm gonna go take a shower, I'll be on the phone with you, and I go, why? I like to watch you. I'm like, that's not weird. Yeah, I've got on my phone, I've got into a thing. But there's like little stalker, there's like.
No, I didn't stop.
That one's for.
Yeah, that one's for-
It's okay.
I don't care, people this before, but they're like little stalkers, like they like, they follow you everywhere.
It's like, I know.
But then other stations, I don't know how to say, she was just like,
Right, yeah.
I'm gonna go over here, mom, no, I can do it.
Yeah, so I.
But it's, I think the weird part is like, if something goes and I can't try to know it doesn't happen, or like I'll drop her off at daycare and she cries, like 30 minutes or 30 times. And other days I thought drop her off, and like come back there, and it's like,
Extended screen, so I can go up there. Ah, there we go.
like, Oh, we are. Roger's also muted.
Okay, I would like to call to order the Alta Town Council meeting of May 13th, 2026. 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And we're going to start with a public hearing to receive comment from the public on the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget amendments. Do we have any comments from the public, either remote or on site?
It doesn't appear so, Mayor.
Well, that's good. That was quick. So we're already ahead of schedule.
Nice, Roger.
Now we'll have a public hearing to receive public comment on proposed fiscal year 2027 tentative budgets.
I'm Rosie O'Grady. I'm the president of the Alta Lodge, and I submitted a written comment also, but I just thought I'd stand up and introduce myself and reiterate on behalf of the Alta Lodge, the Gold Miner's Daughter, and the Rustler Lodge. We would just like you to take into consideration the 1% transient room tax addition for the 2027 fiscal year. As from the report that you generated on page 133, the Alta with the new transient tax increase, Alta would be the second highest in the state, just behind Moab. But more importantly, to Alta lodging properties and lodging businesses, we would be the highest and 2.5% higher than our direct competitors at Snowbird. And also we sit at 6.6% higher on the sales tax. So raising that tax makes it harder and harder for lodging properties to be sustainable. And our rates justifiable, yes, obviously we sit there, putting our faces on it, and it just becomes harder and harder. And with the economy the way that it is, we're being hit, our guests are being hit by increases in travel expenses far and wide. And so just doing the math alone on the Alta Lodge of that $200,000 gain for the town, that's $30,000 of opportunity revenue from the Alta Lodge that basically goes for us. We just would encourage you to consider that, and we would appreciate that maybe that comes from a broader base of visitors here in the canyon rather than just through the lodging properties, which is a small percentage of people in this canyon. Thank you.
Are we allowed to ask questions, or is that against the law? Why didn't the snow pine and Improving sign here?
They never responded to the email. I think they become pretty disengaged, as you can imagine, when the season closes. They don't really, the snow pine, well, we all know that that can be hard with the management connections and the Peruvian. Yeah.
So it wasn't a,
No, I don't
You saw
support you.
okay,
Yes.
it was a with lack of communication.
Lack of communication, and Alta Chalet supported what we had to say. They just didn't respond as they put our name and logo on there, and I didn't want to do that without full commitment. So
I appreciated the time they took and the graph that you made and demonstrated.
you're welcome. Thanks for your attention.
Okay, any other comments on the proposed fiscal 27 tentative budget?
Mayor, if I can just offer, I
Sure.
do hope that it looks like we have one attendee online, and I believe that attendee knows how to operate Zoom to raise their hand. But there is a hand raising tool down in the middle of the Zoom bar if that
Right.
attendee wants to make any comments. Just try to point them in the right direction.
All right. Okay, in that case, we'll close the public hearing on the fiscal 2027 tentative budgets and open the public hearing to receive public comment on the capital projects plan. And members of the public who would like to comment on the capital projects plan. Okay, nobody off site. All right, in that case, we'll close the public hearing on to receive comments on the capital projects plan and move on to citizen input. So are there any citizens who would like to address the council?
Sure where it should go. It's about the sewer line extension.
I think this would be a great place
Yes,
for
so I'll-
If you could just state your name for us.
Hi, my name is Dan Colangelo and I own with Carrie Alza O'Reilly's old house up above Grizzly. And it seems kind of obvious, but sewers are a good thing. So if you guys would consider funding the extension to the Trout restroom, it would maybe facilitate once in a lifetime opportunity to run sewer from our little neighborhood down and make a connection into the town system. And it would be, I think, a good thing from a fairness perspective. Lots of other folks were similarly situated when sewer was run. And we're within the town and we just think having the same services as everyone else would be fair. It's also, as you probably know, we're on Blackwater living tanks right now. And we're careful with them and we monitor them and have them emptied frequently, but they sit, tanks are tanks and they sit right above the Bay City line, which is probably not optimal from a water safety perspective. So making those go away would be a good thing. And to get them pumped, you have to have big trucks and big trucks that travel bad roads. And the chance of a spill is always there. It's probably not a high risk, but it is there. So spills bad, running over hikers with large dumper trucks is probably equally bad. So you know, if the town could find the funds to run the line to the restroom, it would really make facilitate maybe a partnership where our little neighborhood could figure out a way to get a line down the hill and make things better and safer. So thank you very much.
And if you don't mind, I will use your statement, sewers are a good thing from time to time.
Yeah.
All right, are there any other citizen inputs today? All right, hearing none, we'll move to the Rocky Mountain Power Summer 2026 projects with a person who I haven't met named Richard Bardokas.
That was pretty close. So yeah, so Richard Bardokas is Rocky Mountain Power Project Manager. You know, I'm gonna piggyback on Dane's thing. Electricity's good.
Okay, I'll take that.
Kind of played it on. So right now and you guys have probably seen across the state and just across the whole West, there's the big issue with wildfires and we're trying to play our part and mitigate those risks, right? And a lot of that can stem from, you know, burying lines, rebuilding lines to a cover conductor, putting relay protection in place where if something, you know, comes in contact and goes to ground, it'll trip the line and, you know, and ultimately, you know, we're trying to do our part and finally getting up here to the little Cottonwood area. And so we're gonna be rebuilding right in 21 with this you know, primarily most everything on so I wanna go, I guess, roll down to the next slide.
Could you help understand what the term Brighton 21 means? Because that sounds like it's something on the other side of the mountain.
Yeah, sorry. So the town of Alta and, you know, all of Little Cottonwood is basically fed from the Brighton substation over there across from the fire station, kind of to Northman, you know, Big Cotton, you know. And so it comes up and over, you know, basically from the Millie Lift, comes up from Albion Basin. And that's kind of where it all gets fed from. And then there's a second source that ties it together off of Corey 15 circuit, I believe it is, but it's the one that comes up that we had the pleasure of replacing about 2,000 feet of damaged cable right at the end of last construction season. So like the two basically tied together, but the town of Alta doesn't have its own substation, and so, you know, it's just the name is kind of unusual, or it's kind of misleading, you know, of this. So kind of hit on most of the key points kind of already. You know, in this area, we're gonna be undergrounding pretty much all the primary services. So anything that's, you know, 12,500 kilovolt, you know, I'll call it 12.5 kV, just for short. Pretty much all your main distribution lines, they're gonna be undergrounded. Well, I'll get to the next piece of it here, but we're gonna be kind of starting construction this year. It's more likely gonna trickle off into next year. Some of our primary focus to get all the conduit installed this calendar year in this construction window. So this will be probably where you see most of the significant impacts to, you know, traffic and just for dust and all that kind of stuff, you know, normal construction type work. But we do have, you know, when the crews come out, you know, there'll be a couple different crews that will come, you know, we'll communicate with the town, communicate with the Forest Service, with skiers, who are the one involved. Kind of give a 1 week or 2 week look ahead so we can say, hey, we're gonna be in your area, and expect this. And, you know, if there's something that's pivotal going on, you know, like I mean, people have weddings in people's backyards and they don't want their stuff tore up in front of their house when they got a bunch of guests coming up, so we can work around you guys on special events like that. But we'll coordinate with as much of the homeowners as we can. Please understand, we do have a job to do. We're trying to get in, get out. The quicker we get in, you know, and the quicker we can get done, the sooner life goes back to normal. So just, you know, hopefully we'll try to work together on that. So go ahead, listen.
Can we go back to that image? The
Yeah.
yellow line coming down between Toledo and Cardiff, that's gonna go underground?
So we're.
Damn it.
Yeah, and so I've got,
So it's the guy with the
Yeah.
parachute.
so we're working right now, you know, with the ski resort, and there's a lot of. The power company's not like government, unfortunately, we're slow moving. And so a lot of our maps are a little bit outdated, and when we drew this job up 2.5, 3 years ago now, and then we were supposed to start last year, and then we got deferred a year for budget purposes. So some of the stuff that the ski resort has taken over or taken possession of, we don't need to be. We're updating the maps right now, on some of those. So I didn't want to share kind of the latest and greatest, but just kind of want to show we're pretty much, you know, anywhere where you see the existing overhead, except for that, you know, he's, you know, kind of headed up the hill right across from. Yeah, he's one of the South Town, whatever it is up there. Pretty much everything else is going underground. So, you know, from Secret Lake all the way down, kind of halfway through the Ashford.
You should consider that for future subterranean places.
So so the Brighton feed, I know you guys probably can't put that underground
Correct.
because it's the way it is, but is it like have some special fire, like is it, I know they're overhead lines, but is it a little different than maybe something?
So those break down as transmission structures, so they're a lot higher, we don't have a lot of trees here, you know, they're not likely to get hit. That is one of those that we had a project to do that, I actually have all the poles and everything like that, but as far as like the risk in our budget, you know, our annual budget, like that's getting pushed out a little bit. It's really, you know, with the rate cases the way they are and people wanting, you know, affordable electricity, you can't just go and do everything, you know, once and, you know, hopefully I'm not saying anything too out, you know, off the wall there, right? But like those are areas there where we do, you know, we've got, like I said, like there's different ways to treat everything, but you can, you know, rid of the wildfire risk by undergrounding it. You can, you know, mitigate the risk by rebuilding it with special, you know, carbon conductor. Or, you know, you can shut it off, so you don't have that, right? Like in Rocky Mountain Power and a lot of other utilities do this kind of version of ESPS, but like a public safety kind of shut off. And, you know, if we got high winds like we did this afternoon, and it's super dry, you know, we'll actually shut it off preemptively so we don't create a fire, and we'll go back and inspect it before coming back on, right? So we've got a couple different ways that we would mitigate that. That one in particular, I mean, it gets controlled, it gets looked at, it's tracking down a little differently than our normal distribution lines that you see around here. So that one, there's plan on it, not quite sure on the timing of it, just, you know, trying to be mindful of road areas.
So, Richard, I'm not quite clear. Is it your intent to underground all of the yellow lines in this figure?
No, so in this one, sorry, it's a little bit like, it's kind of convoluted, because this is one that we've been working with the ski resort on, kind of just verifying who they are, but we're basically gonna be kind of following mostly the purple and the green, but we're gonna be, there's some stuff like the yellow is staying in place, the green is going away, the purple is kind of where it's, well, some of the green is going away, more is existing underground. And so we're gonna be, it's not a full picture, I should say, but that's kind of the general area where we'll be working.
So I just want to clarify, because I know you've done this in the lower canyon where you have like installed the conduit and put it in. We've always had the fun traffic lights every summer, right? So this project, I know it's very big. I actually work for the ski area, so I've heard about it from that end. I just wanted to state that we are talking about, you guys are talking about doing construction in the road all the way through town, basically up to the summer road, and then going up the summer road this summer.
I would say probably, majority of our work is in the summer road. right?
Yes.
Like, we have very little along the main drag, and then just little bits and pieces, you know, we'll be working with like the Wildcat parking lot getting redone, or, you know, like the work there, we're gonna have to coordinate with them on that, and but yeah, like the majority of the day-to-day travel. Will have an impact, but not a huge one. We plan, like I said, plan to get in and get out. The summer road, we will be there a little bit longer, but it's nice because it is a dirt road. We should be able to hopefully rip through there pretty quickly. We do understand it is rocky, so like we're not oblivious to that, but yeah, we're hoping. I mean, we got about 35,000 feet of conduit to install, so it's not a small task by any means, but we've got good crews that trust to do this work
Okay, my next question is, when are you starting?
as soon as we can.
Because we're melting out right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, we've been working this thing for service for this, you know, like we've been trying to, you know, get that all situated. I mean, if I had the Forest Service, just gave me thumbs up, we'd be up here tomorrow, right? We just want to get in and get out on Sutherland Road before traffic really picks up there, so, or at least get to a certain point on Sutherland Road.
Okay,
I just
so
want to thank I just wanted to thank you because I own property in California, which actually burned from forest fire. I would say that the contract and you being responsible in getting ahead of this and my familiarity with the local PG&E in California, it's markedly different.
Well, I hope, I mean, we all try to learn from each other, right? I mean, and I'm not gonna take it, right? I'm not the mastermind, I'm boots on the ground, right? I'm just a soldier. You know, so Brad Knowles, he's our regional business manager, you know, yeah, I'm gonna give him all the credit, right? So, but yeah, no, so I kind of want to do, because this one, it kind of gets a little bit confusing, a little bit about you, so want to go to the next slide there. So when I say we're undergrounding all the 12.5 kV circuits, that doesn't mean we're replacing it to your house. So if your meter is currently fed overhead, it will remain fed overhead unless you call in a service request where the estimator will come out. You know, one of our RV employees will come out, meet with the homeowner, take a look at the site, you know, identify, okay, this is where your meter needs to be replaced, you know, this is the kind of meter needs to be replaced, this is where you need to dig your conduit out to. And then we'll come in, you know, coordinate with you guys after you get your inspections done on the meter. We'll come in, we'll pull that wire and swap it from overhead to underground and we'll rec it out, right? Like in some cases, there might be a cost associated with that. A lot of times if it's just going back to, we'll pull that wire, you know, at no cost, but you won't. I'm not at liberty to say, you know, or speak specifically on that, you know, like as to, like, please don't just start sending me address like, hey, can I do this? Can I do what? Call that service request number instead, you know, 888-221-7070. And so one of our guys will come up here, meet with y'all. And, you know, and if there's a whole group that wants to come in and wants, you know, he can come up here, they can come up here and look at them all in one shot. That's obviously better, more efficient, more effective. I will say if you're trying to, if there's 2 or 3 homes fed off of one pole, you know, like if you got like a bundle of houses there. If 2 of you go underground and wants to keep their meter overhead because they don't wanna, you know, they don't wanna do the work and pay that to do it. That pole still has to stay, right? So like as far as like view shed and all that, it's, you know, you gotta really, you know, trust your neighbor, but you know, it's kind of a neighborly function there if you know, wanna give your pet to your house, so. But that one is kind of, when people hear us underground and say, oh, when are you going to my house? Right. So just, you know, just when we get that out there. Get out ahead of that, so. But that's really all I got, we'll have some more folks.
Any other questions for Richard? Okay. Thank you for doing this. This is getting ahead of the problem.
Yeah.
I was wondering if we could put this slide out like on a newsletter or some way we can get it to the homeowners. So this is an option. Yeah, just some way to like get this information out, encourage, you know.
Yeah.
Like you said, view shed, fire danger.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm perfectly fine with what I sent over, you know, for this one, since this is a public meeting, it's posted, and like I'm perfectly fine with it going there. I told Chris I didn't, because we are still working with the resort on the details around some of the mapping. So I didn't want to share that because we're waiting for some of the snow to melt for us to be able to go verify some of these things. That is here's what it says, but once that is, I don't mind sharing those either. Okay, all right.
And I think we're working towards setting up like a weekly coordination meeting with I don't know, the forest, you know, and then this year maybe.
Yeah, I know Coleman wants to, Coleman and Charlie, you know, or Charlie's designation for more service, you know, we'll have like a weekly once we kind of get started, and you know, we can send updates, you know, to the town, they can publish it out there, whatever.
Yeah. So seems like it'll be in everyone's faces, so.
Yeah, no, it's hard to put.
Cool. You guys have been, communicative and responsive and.
I have one more question. So what are your like construction? Are you guys Monday through Friday? Or what are you?
So we're gonna avoid the peak hours of, you know, because I mean, like kind of. Like there are folks up here, I'm sure, that aren't full time up here, and you know, they use this weekend getaway, and then you got all the. You know, the recreational users, we're gonna try to, you know, avoid those peak hours and stuff like that. You know, there might be times where it's like. We gotta open up open ditch, we just gotta power through it, you know, get through this area, but we'll coordinate that as it comes out, make a game decision.
Okay, now this number on the screen is for service request. And that's who anybody talks to concerning this?
Yeah, so and that's just for a new service request,
Oh, how about talking to you?
Yeah, so I mean, there's kind of barriers to it, right? Like I'm more than happy to answer any phone call that comes my way, but I've got 18 jobs in construction right now. Like from Laramie to Idaho Falls down to Monticello, like, so just understand, like, I live in the valley and I'll try to make it up here, but it's. Yeah, and so what I like to try to do is just like if people have questions, you know, work with the contractor that's on site. Typically, you ask me a question, I might have to call them and ask them, hey, what are you seeing on this or what's going on? And then it comes back that way. So if we can head off with the contractors, just doing stuff in the field first. And typically that'd be your quickest response. And if it needs to get escalated, by all means, you know, I'm there, like I'm responsible and accountable for this job. to get
Okay.
it done safely and meet the community's requirements. So,
Yeah, I would request that you communicate that contact with if the contractor foreman to Chris, so that any of us can work through him to get there.
yeah, no, absolutely, we'll do that.
I'm here as well. Chris knows how to reach me.
Yeah, and let's just got a notice about a power outage from my house. You guys,
Yeah.
1:30 tomorrow morning. I'm just kidding. I know, folks. It's all right.
Okay, thank you, Richard. That's that is welcome. I like Craig. I'm close to a place where there have been some very serious fires. Okay, the next item 7 is discussion and possible action to ordinance 2026-07, enacting a community clean energy program in Title 8 Utilities, Chapter 4 of the Alpha Code. And I think Chris has been very close to this activity for some time, and he can speak to it briefly.
yes, I can. Brooke, are you gonna be able to pull up the slides?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, well, I can be. We talked about foregoing this altogether and the assumption that it was gonna sail through. I think it's best practice to have a discussion in the record. I can do it real quick. Because Roger's right, I have been up close and personal with this thing for a long time. I put my hand up to be the town's sort of participant in the process way back in 2020 when it started. It started when under the Fund Act, the council passed a resolution seeking to get net 100% of the electricity used in Alta from renewable sources. And that set us up to participate. That was the first threshold for municipalities to participate in what was then known as the Community Renewable Energy Program. About 2 years later, an interlocal entity was formed by all those cities, towns, and counties that passed that resolution, known as Utah 100 communities. It rebranded into Utah Renewable Communities. The enabling legislation passed in 2019 changed, and it's now the Community Clean Energy Program. In the meantime, I've become the town manager and not just someone who's been in the town office for a while looking for networking opportunities and a chance to do something kind of cool and woo. But I've kept participating. I facilitate the communications committee despite not being a communications professional. And here we are. So yeah, can I use a clicker by any chance?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Oh, I have a clicker. Great. Okay. So we've been providing the council updates on this almost monthly, if not bi-monthly. We've had notices in newsletters for quite some time. The reason we're before you today is that finally, at long last, the Public Service Commission approved this program. It's actually interesting those guys left because the program is developed in collaboration with Rocky Mountain Power. So this, Rocky Mountain Power is the regulated electric utility in all these communities. So it will affect ratepayers or customers in communities that take the next step, which we may take today. So there's 19 cities, towns, and counties currently participating in the program. We're all in the process of adopting this participation ordinance that is on the agenda for action today. I heard from the program lead at Salt Lake City Public Utilities that with the communities that have passed the ordinance, 73% of the electric load eligible to participate has essentially been opted in. So that's a really big deal. The program represents something like 25% of the entire electric load in the state of Utah. If all of the Rocky Mountain Power customers in all 19 communities agreed to participate. So a big chunk of that is now eligible to participate because their legislative bodies have adopted ordinance. This just illustrates the goals of the program. It illustrates that, we won't get to net 100% over time, but as basically the program is going to develop its own renewable resources. So we sort of pull together surcharges on Rocky Mountain Power bills that our customers pay that opt into the program. And those go to fund new renewable energy resources. There's the Rocky Mountain Power guy. And it will take time to do that. So the program is, there are other options out there to get renewable energy. Blue Sky is one, Subscriber Solar is another. And of course, regulations permitting and other factors, you can put solar panels in your home and get renewable energy that way. This program is cheaper than Blue Sky. Subscriber Solar, to my knowledge, is kind of, if the participation is capped, and there aren't opportunities currently under Subscriber Solar to get energy that way. So this is a new large scale program. We're developing utility scale resources in the region. It's unique to Utah, and other states are looking to it as an example. It's been a long process. We're all the way at the right side, and we're gonna have to develop a new timeline soon. But we're finally at this point. We've taken the town of Alta is followed along with all these steps and the council has taken action at various points along the way. So the Public Service Commission approved the program on March 4th. They did not approve the entire program. They did approve key details such as that initial program rate of $4 per month for residential customers, and details about the customer opt-out process. This was a subject of possible legislation in the recent session. Question was whether to allow this program to continue to be opt-in, opt-out, or make it opt-in. The regulation didn't change and the program was approved. So customers in communities that adopt the ordinance we're considering today will be opted into the program with the option to opt out. We have 90 days from March 4th to adopt the ordinance, so June 2nd is 90 days after March 4th. Currently, we are, I think it's safe to say, conducting negotiations with clean energy developers towards building our first resource under a contract. We ran the solicitation ourselves, or the program did. I had no part in it at all. And that's a big deal and pretty cool. So the key point in this slide is everything that's kind of highlighted with call outs and a border around those two arrows on the right. This is the highlight here is the noticing period. So once communities will adopt the ordinance in arrow 2 on the left, there's a lot of work that has to take place with Rocky Mountain Power and the agency, that's Utah Renewable Communities, to prep the billing system, other technical stuff. The Public Service Commission, they have to rule on the outstanding items. But at some point after that, we anticipate late this year, early next year, the program will be quote unquote implemented. At that point, notices will be mailed to Rocky Mountain Power customers in communities that adopt the ordinance, indicating the opportunity to opt out of the program. Customers can opt out of the program for 6 months after program implementation, quote unquote, for free. After that period of time, customers can opt out, residential customers can opt out for a $30 termination fee. Opt out for free for 6 months, notices will go in the mail, and we'll be beating the drum about that for our ratepayers. So yeah, the initial program rate was approved at $4 a month. There's some details on that, which I won't get into. A lot of work has been done pursuant to a component of the initial enabling legislation requiring the program to develop this essentially bill increase impact mitigation measures for low income ratepayers. So we do have measures in place to allow qualifying low-income residential customers to participate for free. That's essentially paid for by a roughly 12 cent per month surcharge that other participating customers will bear. We do not have, or we did not have, as of an analysis of how many of these low-income ratepayers were in the individual communities, any low-income ratepayers in Alpha, which may or may not be a surprise. We do have low-income residents, but they don't seem to pay their own utility bills. I won't go into this, but again, it's a key detail. A ton of work has gone into it, and it's a really cool, component of the program, the low income support. Business customers pay a fixed amount per kilowatt hour, 0.00609 cents per kilowatt hour, which means nothing to me. But anyway, so that's for non-residential customers. Particularly large energy customers are entitled to like a one-on-one meeting with the program and the utility. I believe all the ski area qualifies as one of those customers. Essentially after ordinance adoption, before program initiation, so they can understand whether to opt in. So program rates in the long term are subject to change. In its decision, the Public Service Commission opined that there's no evidence in the record to suggest that program rates are likely to increase, and that they might potentially decrease, and that has to do with the kind of the structure of the funding of this program that I won't go into. Essentially, we're paying off upfront costs, and they're kind of a financial backstop costs, and after there's the possibility to get cheaper, it also get more expensive. This is more on the opt-out. We talked about that. We have this ordinance on the agenda to be adopted today. Like I said, about half the participating communities and the largest of those communities have adopted the ordinance. The council's reviewed this in past meetings, like as long ago as, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. This was included, the draft of this ordinance was included in the program application, so it had to be developed and had to be approved by all the communities as the form, which we did. Anyway, I don't think I need to go into this one. Let's see the ordinance details. I'm not really going to go into this, into the ordinance itself. I don't know if you guys have questions. Essentially, what this ordinance does is it creates the program in Alta. We've made the decision to codify it in Title 8 utilities. There are a couple of other options, so we'll kind of slide in there along regulations regarding our water and sewer systems. But the key effect of this is that it will opt in Rocky Mountain Power customers within Alta's corporate boundary upon program implementation. So, I think a key consideration for the council is that we don't adopt the ordinance today, you can't participate in Alta, and I don't think you'll ever be able to. I don't think we'll be able to opt back in the future. Legislation could always change, but for now, this is our opportunity to participate, is to adopt the ordinance. Again, we think that the program rate is generally affordable for folks who aren't low income or aren't low income ratepayers in Alta. We will do everything we can to notify Rocky Mountain Power customers in Alta of this impending, it will function as a rate increase that you have to voluntarily on your own opt out of. And you can do that for free for 6 months after some point in time when the program is active. This is probably the best opportunity that the town and that Alta as a community has to support development of renewable energy and to get our electricity from that, at least for the foreseeable future. Renewable energy markets are pretty dicey, and the politics surrounding those are really dicey. The developers we're working with assume they're going to break ground or take some other action to qualify for the tax credits before they expire at the end of next year, and that's why it's economical for them to develop resources for us. So that's pretty much it. I think we either, I think, you know, I can try to answer any questions from the council. I'm not a technical expert in this program. I've just been to a lot of meetings about it. There are certainly much more technically involved people. They just aren't at the meeting today, so.
Like you said, this has been a long road and I've been there since Ferris, we adopted that a long time ago, so this is really great to see this kind of finally coming to an end. So I'm very supportive of this, I'm ready to like vote yes on this, but I do have a quick question. Is unincorporated Salt Lake County a part of the doing this?
They've taken, they're currently a participating community. They, I believe. I think there was something on the agenda that was not an actual vote on the ordinance, but was some like preliminary vote for it to be up in next week's meeting or final May meeting. So they are as of now.
They're participating,
about the ordinance. I
Okay.
think it's been a little up in the air. There's been some, you know, not everybody's been in agreement. I'm gonna go out on a limb and speak for the, I'm just gonna let you know that I believe that ski area supports this program and looks forward to at least assessing whether it's a more affordable way for the ski area to use renewable energy. The ski area currently, to its credit, you know, spends money on renewable energy, right? Like they purchase.
Big blue sky, I think they've been doing blue sky for a very long time. As well as some solar, but no, I'm just wondering, I'm just thinking for our folks down the road that are not in an incorporated. I was just wondering if that was.
I've worked with the Salt Lake County sustainability person who's sort of participating in the program to get in touch with Snowbird, and I think Snowbird is contacting the county council to weigh in. So, yeah.
I move that we adopt ordinance 2026-0-7, enacting the Community Clean Energy Program in Title 8 Utilities, Chapter 4 to the Alta Code.
A second.
Okay, we need a roll call vote on this. I just want to make one point. This is going to cost ratepayers per household less than 1 gallon of gas per month.
I actually think it's less than a Starbucks.
It's less.
So that's how, if you want to put it in this perspective, it's less than a Starbucks.
So shall
motion
we,
by
you want to roll call it, Jen?
Yes, are you ready?
Yes.
Motion by Councilmember Schilling, second by Councilmember Ansel. Roll call vote, Councilmember Ansel,
Yes.
Councilmember Hybart,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
A hearty yes.
and Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, I didn't see Mike Mon in the room. Is he there or is he remote that he can give us a report? Or
He has
someone
not
else?
joined us today.
And no one else in his stead? Okay,
No.
in that case, we'll move to
So Mike,
item 9, which is discussion and possible action designating a council member liaison to the Citizen Advisory Panel for improving the Town Capital Committee. Craig has been very instrumental in getting this thing going. And if we're going to have a council member liaison to that, I think that Craig would be a great candidate to do that.
I'll second that before anyone says anything else.
Does Craig want to do?
Well, somebody's gonna move back. I will, but I don't want.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? In that case, we need a motion to appoint Craig as the liaison to the Citizen Advisory Committee.
I move that we appoint Councilmember Craig Highmark as the designee to our capital committee comprised of community members.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any opposed?
Thank
Motion passes. Okay, at this point, Jan is going to, I think, lead most of the discussion.
So, I will just start off by saying this section of the agenda is all, for compliance with state code. Kind of tried to brief you guys on that a little bit, but, I apologize that this may appear redundant at times, but we are just trying to comply with, any question. I want to thank Polly for all of her guidance as we amended the agenda to make sure that there was no steps missed. So agenda item number 10 is discussion and possible action to adopt resolution 2026 R12, a resolution of the council of the town of Alta acknowledging the following: the filing of the tentative budget for fiscal year 2026-27 prepared by the budget officer pursuant to section 10.5.107 of the Utah Code, adopting the tentative budget subject to further review and consideration by the council. It also establishes the date, time, and place for a public hearing on the tentative budget prior to adoption of the final budget for fiscal year 26-27, subject to the requirements of section 59.2.919 and 59.2.924 of the Utah Code, ordering publication of the notices as required by law, and finally, ordering the tentative budget to be available for public inspection in the office of the town clerk and on the town website for at least 10 days prior to the adoption of final budget. We will be soon putting a whole bunch of stuff on our website and applying with all of you.
So moved.
Seconded.
Do we have any discussion or
We
no?
can discuss.
Okay, and I apologize for like, oh my God, does this girl read these things? I mean, I read it and then I'm like, okay, so I appreciate that Rosie spent a bunch of time writing a letter and asking people. So is Rosie's, is the increase in tax on this budget, or is that like a totally separate thing? And are we approving the budget, or we're just saying, hey?
Well,
This
Okay.
agenda item in particular, it's tied to, we have an item that's more directly approving the tentative budget, that's R9
Okay,
later,
okay,
but this one tees it up.
I just wanna make sure, I just.
Yes, the way to say it.
Fabulous. I just wanna make sure that we address Rosie's comment appropriately.
Well, in June is where we will more officially adopt the 27. Sort of, like we're
Well,
tentative.
this is a tentative
This is the
budget.
tentative budget that we're adopting, correct?
Yes,
Yes. But this is also, we're doing a lot of this for the truth and taxation hearing, so that we are addressing a tax increase, just maybe not that.
We're not
specific one.
voting on the tax increase, that isn't
Well,
part of
this-
this is just.
this does not adopt tentative budget. Yeah.
Just making
Mhm.
sure.
You-
Yeah.
if you choose to make that decision, there is an opportunity later when you can provide direction to the staff. Either to support that or not support that.
Okay.
And that's like number. That'll be in.
And
our
then
team.
yes, right
Yeah,
behind those guys.
Yeah, so I'll try and remember,
We'll tee it up.
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So we had a motion by Councilmember Morgan, a second by Councilmember Schilling. I'll now do. Councilmember Ansel,
Yes.
Councilmember Heimer,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
and Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, item 11, statement from the budget officer notifying the public that the entity's budget officer intends to state in the public meeting that the tentative budget includes a proposed property tax rate increase. So Jen's
Okay.
going to speak to this.
So. This is where it gets repetitive. We have on the agenda that we're saying we intend to do this. And now we're gonna go to further items. If that's the decision, right? So now we're on item number 12, Mayor.
Oh, all right. Item number 12, statement by budget officer. The tentative budget includes property tax increase by, and Jen's going to speak to that.
So I, as the budget officer, am now making a statement that the tentative budget includes a property tax increase. I'm gonna go into details.
Oh, good. Riveting.
Okay. Have we completed item 12?
We have,
Okay, item 13, presentation of property tax impact schedule by the budget officer that and makes the property tax impact schedule available to the public as a separate document from other budget documents.
So I, as the budget officer, have prepared this property tax impact schedule. I have made copies available on this table over here for anyone from the public that would like one. It is also available on our website, and we'll put it in a couple other places on our website so that it's very plainly obvious. I'm gonna summarize what's on the impact schedule. At this point, the way this is drafted is I only have 2025 numbers, so I'm not able, I'll get information from the county assessor in 2 weeks or so. So before the June meeting, I should be able to update this schedule. So for now, just to give people a little bit of context, I've used last year's, the 2025 numbers. It just so happens that last year we were proposing to raise the property tax revenue by $100,000. So these numbers may seem familiar to folks, but our current property tax rate is 0.00834. We are proposing to raise the property tax revenue amount from $405,000 to $505,000. That's $100,000 increase, which represents a 25% increase to the property tax. It will be a 25% increase whether you're a residential or a commercial property. If you are a residential property with the property tax exemption and your house is valued at 1.809 million, your annual bill would be increased by $201 is the assessment. So from $830 to $1,031. If you are a residential property without the exemption, or you have a, oh yeah, Brooke's got it up here, great. Or you are a commercial property, your increase is gonna be annually $365. In addition to that, what I have done is I'm gonna read this. So the property tax revenue increase that I've calculated is needed to support the proposed general fund. The expenses that I've highlighted on the next page are ongoing operational costs rather than one-time expenditures. So the associated ad valorem revenue increase would become part of the town's ongoing base. So one more page, Brooke, if you don't mind. Thank you. So the town is in our 2027 tentative budget. We are proposing to raise wages by 3%. This is reflected differently because of how we budget in different departments differently. So I have a list by department and what the proposed change is to that department. Okay. The other additional changes on this are some insurance benefits for health insurance I'm anticipating those to go up. So those increases are there for a couple different departments. The Central Wasatch Commission contribution that the town has been making, since we joined the Central Wasatch Commission, I think I put in here 2017 was the date, has been at $15,000. They have approached us asking for an increase to 25. So that's where you get the $10,000 difference. In the budget. I have civil code enforcement, a program that Brooke has been working on implementing. We've done a little bit of work this year, but really that program is expected to launch next year. We need to hire an administrative law judge and do a handful of other things. So this is an added cost above and beyond what we've already budgeted for. The building inspection project tracking, right now, we're very manual in that process and we're looking to upgrade our software package to be able to manage projects. Chris explained it much better. He actually helped me with the language in here. And then Our Lady of the Snow is $9,000 in annual kind of upkeep payments for inspecting.
That's why I have a question about, so Our Lady of the Snow's $2,200 in wages, what is that for?
That is for cleaning. That's additional wages, so it's for cleaning, general maintenance. We pay shovelers,
Okay,
so, we've almost got a year of operations under our belt now, right? And so we're getting we did pretty well this year in budgeting and anticipating, but we're getting better at that, and
And it was a low snow
Yeah.
year, so.
it was a
Who
little
knows?
snow year,
yeah,
so
and what's their rent again?
it depends.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. Yes, I mean, I was surprised when I read the
yeah,
thing,
we
how
are,
much there was so,
yeah,
like, that it was relatively, it was, I think, higher than I thought it was gonna be.
of revenue or expense.
The expense,
Oh, okay.
like, I was like, oh.
Yeah, well, and I believe that the mayor announced that we were gonna have the executive director of ACE, Sarah, come to the June meeting.
Yep.
Town is working with her, we're doing kind of a 1-year annual review.
Great.
And we'll be able to present some numbers, I think, to the council probably next month on
Excellent.
what the total revenue was from rentals, how much it costs the town to
Great.
operate the facility and stuff, so I hope to help you understand that better.
Okay, awesome.
We are
14.
Thank you. 13, okay, so I think I've completed that task.
Yes.
Okay. Mayor, I've completed number 13, so we can move to 14.
Okay, number 14, discussion possible action to adopt resolution 2026 R13, resolution that of the town council acknowledging that.
I can read that.
Yeah,
If
why
you'd
don't
like
you do
to.
that?
Sure.
Yep, 2026-R-13 is a resolution of the Alta Town Council acknowledging that a separate item is included on the agenda for the May 13th, 2026 public meeting notifying the public that the town's budget officer intends to make a statement that the tentative budget for fiscal year 2026-27 includes a proposed property tax increase as required by Utah code. Further acknowledging that the budget officer made the statement that the tentative budget for fiscal year 2026-27 includes a proposed property tax increase as required by Utah code in the May 13, 2026 public meeting. Acknowledging that the budget officer presented to the town council as a separate item on the agenda in the same public meeting, a property tax impact schedule separate from other budget documents as defined in section 59-2-924 of the Utah Code. Directing that the property tax impact schedule shall be available for public inspection and will be included as a separate agenda item at each public hearing prior to June 30th, at which the town council discusses the proposed general fund budget for fiscal year 2026-27.
So moved.
Second.
So Jen, this is not actually adopting this tax increase, it's just these procedural matters, correct?
Yeah, that's acknowledging all of the things that we will do.
Okay.
It's acknowledging all the things that we are required to do this.
Yeah, thanks, Polly, for clarifying all that.
All right, Dan, was that a motion to adopt this or not?
I motion and Dan second.
Oh,
So
got it.
motion by Councilmember Morgan, seconded by Councilmember Schilling. I'll now do the roll call vote. Councilmember Ansel.
Yes.
Councilmember Heimer.
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan.
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling.
Yes.
And Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, item 15, the town of Alta intends to make a statement.
I am here for you.
Go for it.
And the statement is that the town is considering levying a tax rate that exceeds its certified tax rate. The approximate dollar amount of and purpose for additional ad valorem tax revenue that would be generated by the proposed tax rate increase. The approximate percentage increase and ad valorem tax revenue for the town based on the proposed tax increase. And that if the town proceeds with the proposed tax rate increase, the town will provide notice of and conduct a public hearing at which members of the public will have an opportunity to provide comments on the proposed tax rate increase.
Great. And we have already, I've just take the opportunity to say that I've communicated with the state and with the county and our hearing will be on August 11th at 6 p.m. in this location, the Austin Post Office Building. So I've got that all over stuff, and we will promote that.
Thank you for calling the post office.
Been really working hard on this.
Yeah, I second that endorsement, how good that is.
Okay, I think we've actually completed item 15, correct?
Correct.
Okay, item 16, statement of the budget officer, the above items pursuant to section 59-2-9194B.
Do we need to reread that?
No, I think you can just say that you are stating the same items in number 15.
Okay, so I, as the budget officer, am going to restate, but not restate, restate, the terms that were just communicated to the public in the prior agenda item by Councilmember Schilling.
Okay,
Item 16,
Not.
item 16, that was nice, yeah.
That works okay,
yeah,
Colin?
that worked well. Okay, item 17, presentation of the proposed fiscal 2027 tentative budgets, Jen and Chris.
There
Okay,
you go, Carolyn.
we got through that part. This should be
Yeah,
maybe hopefully slightly
Different
more in our
order.
Okay, yeah, my question when I was like,
But first we have a presentation.
Yes.
yes.
All right, presentations.
Yeah.
You know what's great about our town council meetings is they're always preceded by really cool photos.
That is.
Yes,
Which is
they
not
are.
what you get at Midvale or Murray.
You did?
It's like, somebody took it. Yeah, somebody took it.
Yeah.
Probably Rocco.
Chris, you wanna say?
Yeah, probably.
No, it's.
Yes, sure, yes.
Sure.
Very nice.
Okay, so I can use a splitter room, you're saying?
You should be able to, yeah.
Excellent. Okay,
Here we go.
first off, I'm gonna start off by saying that, the process of approving the budget is we do have a budget committee. And the budget committee has met twice, due to an error in a posting thing. They were not able to meet yesterday, so I apologize to the budget committee members, but I will say that the prior two budget committee meetings went very smoothly this year. We didn't have a lot of changes from one meeting to the next. As far as the numbers go that are in the proposed, or in the, I guess, a tentative 27 budget. Just more, we were refining how we present the information to the public and the council. So the key on this slide is basically what I wanted to communicate with you all is that the town has 4 separate funds. 2 of those are enterprise funds, the water and the sewer fund, and then we have the general fund and the capital projects fund. The FY 27 general fund budget is 3.5 million. I have comparison numbers for 25 and 26. You can see, it's not the greatest on the screen, but general fund is in the orange over on the right. You can just kind of see, I know Roger likes graphs. So whenever I feel like I can throw a graph in there, I do for him. You know, we don't, it doesn't fluctuate much. It's kind of on a very slow upward trend. The water and the sewer fund are really hard to see on this screen in front of us. Sorry, I chose bad colors, I guess, but those. For these numbers, I chose the operating budget number or the operating, fund budget numbers. They don't include the capital outlay. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that because those numbers maybe seem a little bit smaller than what our actual total spend is gonna be this year in water and sewer. And then we have capital projects, that's the one that really fluctuates depending on the year. And then down at the bottom, I have a whole bunch of things that are, I'm not gonna belabor you by reading bullets. But those are kind of the key points of what's changed in each of those funds in the last couple of years. This is a programmatic view of all 4 funds together. And so we have this colorful chart on the right. You can see, you know, our employees are our biggest expense townwide. That's a kind of brownish color over on the right. I did separate out, the capital project improvements at the bottom. This is generally following the format that we produce every month when we have kind of the summary budget. This is just in, for the tentative budget. That's what I want to-
But this includes the capital expenditures in the water and the sewer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and this is water, sewer,
Yeah.
all,
But the pie chart doesn't include the capital expenditure.
That's in operation.
Right.
Pie chart is the subtotal.
Wait, the pie chart does not include the capital improvement?
Right, because those are one time
What's the dream?
it's,
What's the split green?
operating. Oh.
Exhibit it.
Let's rewind the tape.
yes. Yes, but that is combined water, sewer, capital project, that's
Right,
it's
all
all-
of
it's all-
those, it's all.
That's why it's
Such a good system.
almost a quarter.
Cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful graph.
I'm not gonna go into, I have other slides later where I'm gonna go into things a little more specific, so we'll just kind of skip over that. Like more details for now, and then this is a chart again for revenue, and this is again across all 4 funds. This is proposed with the tentative budget, and then I think it's just good to call out the property tax number does include the $100,000 increase. And the sales tax number includes if we were to impose the transient room tax and what my estimate is. You can see there we're, 50% basically supported by sales tax, which is
Crazy.
Why are the board fees going down by $50,000?
the, which one?
So tentative budget, the permits, licensing, the court fees
Oh.
are going down by.
Yeah,
Building permits.
building permits was the big one in that,
Okay.
from year to year, you're just
We knew we had big projects that were in the permitting pipeline
Okay,
the previous
for revenue,
year.
so we collected,
Okay.
yeah.
and water is significantly down too?
So this includes the capital and money coming in, so the way I kind of explained it in
Okay.
in the budget committee meetings, it's kind of, unfortunately, this is double dipping a little bit between it's covering costs in 2
Okay.
years. Those numbers will get further refined, so this isn't a great display for that specific reason.
And obviously 2027 is a guess,
Right,
right? Like, so we're guessing, but we are gonna have to probably amend as the year goes by.
Yeah.
So right now it shows this big difference, that's a guess.
So the sales tax increase and the room tax, it's a $200,000 increase.
That's my estimate, it's
Right,
a
right,
really
right,
hard number to
right.
estimate because I don't know the I know what our total sales tax numbers are, but I don't know how they're distributed between transient room stuff versus,
food or-
exactly, I don't get that detail.
Okay. Okay.
General fund, okay, so this is. First, we're gonna just talk about what the changes are, and I'm gonna let Chris talk about the programmatic changes.
Yeah, well, we've talked about a lot of these already in the meeting today. Central Wasatch Commission has asked us to increase our contribution. It's the first increase. We've contemplated in a while. 15K at this point is not a major expense for the town. Going up to 25 starts to feel like one. But at this point, we are assuming that we're gonna continue to participate in the commission, that it's an important forum. Not participating, given that we're entirely within the commission's sort of subject area, would be a little weird, so that's in the budget.
What did Brighton do?
Right.
Brighton is in. I don't know what their
Brighton is
number
in.
is.
25?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Again, I just saw their budget.
Sorry.
Okay, so Outlet Resort Shuttles, so our contract, yeah, provides for an 8% annual increase. So it's going from a big number to a bigger number, the amount of $22,000. Really, the big story here is more in how we propose to cover that expense this year, and we can get into that later, right? Yeah, okay. So contract planners, so we've had $40,000 in the budget since I started as town manager, so that was in spring of 23, so fiscal 24 is the first time we included the budget. I think it was initially assumed to be kind of a short-term thing while John helped me transition into the role and manage various land use related things and some other projects for the town. We're proposing to keep this in. We have a lot of work to do as we consider necessary updates to the land use code. We are slowly but surely rolling out the general plan update. And so we want to keep this in the budget for next year. The impact fee program. So I think we've kind of danced around this one a little bit. We are proposing to dissolve the impact fee program, and that will appear in the budget as a one-time expense. You want to go into why?
We have a slide on that.
Okay. So wages, so this represents a 3% cost of living increase across the town of Alta payroll. That is 0.2% above the Social Security Administration's COLA for Social Security recipients. That's always kind of been our benchmark. A key point to call out here, and we'll have a whole other slide on this maybe coming up next, I think, is that with the town marshal's plan to retire in the middle of 2028, we are proposing to hire a successor on as an additional employee during between that date of hire and the marshal's retirement. So we funded 1/4, I think, of those wages in this new budget. And again, more on that coming up. So for new stuff, we're on the hook for $20,000 to Westchester Regional Council against their $120,000 grant to hire consultant stuff with the general plan. The restroom, we have a really modest expense in there. It could be more, it could be less. I've verbally agreed with Mike that we'll work up a kind of joint operations and maintenance approach and budget. And then finally, we have some expenses, some relatively minor expenses on Our Lady of the Snows that we've got in the general fund. These are the kind of projects that we would have capitalized a decade ago, but they're really too small for that, and so we've got that in the general fund budget.
And I'll just point out, something that Craig's really kind of promoted with us and as we give these presentations is what, like, instead of looking at like the individual number and what it is, how does it change the budget? So that's why we have those net increases at the top of the pages. So thanks,
Gotcha.
Craig, for guiding us in that direction. I think it's helpful.
Can I, before we leave
This
that
is-
slide, can I say something about that slide before we leave it? There are a couple of items in here which are actually optional. And we could, if we wanted to, cut them to or zero them out. And those are our contribution to the CWC and our support for the Alta Resort Shuttle. Now, I don't recommend we do what we cut or eliminate either one of those, but we should at least keep in mind that those are things which we don't have to support, but we are supporting.
That's a great point, Mayor, and I think because as we go forward year to year, if the town found itself in a crisis for whatever reason, looking forward, the resort shuttle itself becomes a safety valve.
Yeah.
Right, with enough lead time. It's not like you can cancel it in the middle of the contract.
Yes, the resort shuttle costs a lot more than 22K, it costs more than $30,000, so that's our biggest. That's our biggest opportunity to reduce expenses, and I'm not disagreeing with. I don't need to disagree with Roger, but I will point out that all of these are voluntary.
Yeah.
Right, so if the town goes into a recession, right, or if the world goes into a recession and Alta's economy is affected by it and our revenues go way down, then all of these kinds of things will be in question, and they could be in question in this year's budget, regardless of whether we're in a recession or not.
I'm having like
So-
really, really bad flashbacks to June of 2020 when all everybody shut down and our pie chart of 50% sales tax as our revenue,
Yeah.
and we were literally as a council,
Yeah,
going down to like $1,000 on the budget for everything. We were cutting all sorts of stuff because we rely so heavily on sales taxes that you never know if out the ski area shuts down in the middle of the season or something happens or we have a bad snow year or whatever. So it happens.
my first year as a
See?
Yeah, it happens. Stuff that happens.
I was furloughed along with all part-time or, you know, at least for DC patrollers, you know, it wasn't snowing and there was very little business, and I think I believe the town went without wage increases for several years. I mean, I hate to raise that because of all the progress we've made in this like community-wide acknowledgement that we can't pay poverty wages in Alta anymore. But it's you know, times have been pretty good here.
Well, I mean, this year, and just to point out for this year, sales are not where they were in previous years. We had a low snow year. The resort didn't open until 12/6. We did say open this year, it did say open a week later than in previous years, but I do believe, and Mike's not on here, but you know, the numbers are down compared to previous years. So it's like, yeah, we're not looking at like an amazing year here that we are talking about sales.
Your numbers were down.
Correct,
True.
other people's were
And a
not,
lot
Right.
of down.
Not all.
not all of them,
Actually,
were not,
I
they
spoke
were.
to a couple lodge owners
Correct.
that said they were flat.
They were, yeah, but I'm
Yes.
just saying that it just highlights an example of we had a leaner year this year when it
Yes.
comes to our 50% pie chart of sales taxes.
And that's why I think, and that's also why with the budgeting for sales tax, we've kind of kept the number the same, and we will, I believe, based on what I'm seeing so far, we'll make our budget.
Correct,
For
yes,
sales
I think
tax.
so too, but it is hard, as you say, to project a budget of next year when we are basing it off of sales taxes that we think are gonna happen from the previous years.
But I think your observation is just also a testament of competence, which is the town managed to get through that. And we're gonna look at things $1,000 at a time, and the town did that. Fortunately, the world will progress very predictably and we'll all be very stable, so.
Yeah, 2021 was bonkers. It was like one of the greatest of all time. It wasn't even good snow years, so.
Yeah, never know.
Answer or allow you to make your comment, Mayor?
No, I made it.
So as we said, you know, wages are the kind of the biggest bucket or whatever at the town office, our infrastructure. So if we were to implement a 3% COLA across the board, this is how it would affect each department. Because we budget for departments differently with respect to overtime, that's why some numbers may go up and some numbers go down. At the bottom of the page on the left, you'll see, and this is kind of to tie in with the truth in taxation. So if we're just looking at the general fund, the increase is the 41,000, whereas if you look at all departments, including sewer and water, the total change is 45.
I thought it was interesting looking at the AMO budget, just, I know we haven't gotten to the department inputs yet, but that they'd already realized a slight reduction in overtime.
Yeah.
With now that we've got 5 individuals
As of like
back
a
on,
couple weeks
that was interesting.
Yeah,
What's changing with the summer program that it's 3 times previously?
the hiring of the facility manager, and I think us doing a better job with budgeting and anticipating the amount of time that person's gonna spend through the
Okay.
course of the year
Okay.
administering that program.
We pay benefits and better wages to that person than we have our part-time. The part-time folks who, when they showed up.
Okay.
You know, when we've been able to employ them, so. Like, does this, oh, this is just wages, I mean, we're also looking into putting some new sand down. the park,
Oh, yeah.
So,
What a great photo.
it's not on the capital plan, so.
Oh, that is great.
I think he's aware of
I-
this.
He has no clue that we're talking about.
I thought it was a nice one. I was hunting all around the stuff. Pulled it off the internet.
They look like you
It
doing
was the
like a
news
Yeah,
article.
news
It
article.
was something about, I think, like Interlodge or people.
It's a
behind the
commanding
scenes.
presence.
But anyways, it's great. I thought it was a great photo. So, as we've talked about, Marshall McMorry, Marshall with 1L, is going to retire at some point here in the near future. And so we are trying to plan for that. This is gonna be a really big gem for the town of Alta. There's a lot in that noggin that needs to be,
Extracted.
communicated to others. So what we're proposing is an overlap. So that would bring a quote unquote sixth officer, full-time officer on for a period. We're proposing for a year to be able to train under Mike and then Mike would go off and sail into the sunset, retire and stuff. So we've included those numbers in the tentative budget to bring somebody on. We've included the, all the onboarding stuff that we need to do. Gotta.
I am very supportive of this overlap. I think that I know it's gonna cost us,
Yeah.
but I think it's necessary, and I think watching it happen in other leadership roles, like at different places, it's really great to have that overlap.
You were faster than me, damn it. And
So,
because
I am like
it's
supportive of
critically-
this, although it is a big budget expense, but I think it's necessary.
it's central to what this whole body in here, including everybody in their different roles, provides for the public and our residents. So I also support it.
Yeah, so we'll really, we move in this direction and stuff, we'll have a bigger effect on the FY28 budget. So just be prepared for that. Goal of communicating all of that now. So this is the programmatic change, highlights essentially for the council to consider with the tentative budget. So we've listed here the property tax increase of $100,000, the estimated $200,000 if you decide to impose the transient room tax. To balance the budget, which you are required by the state to have a budget that balances, we are currently using cash on hand to get to that balance zero number. So we just want to call that out, $240,000. And then we are proposing to dissolve the impact fee program. And if we do that, there will be no added revenue coming in moving forward. I went over this earlier, so I'm gonna.
You did it very thoroughly.
Yeah, very
For-
thoroughly.
for
So I think
retirement.
we know, we're talking about property tax increase, I think we all know we're talking about change in earn rate, $100,000, yeah.
Is there any more on property, on truth and taxation
There
property tax
is,
increase?
this slide is just tying, it's very similar to the impact schedule, but slightly different. This is just showing each department and the difference on the right. And then you'll see the list of ongoing operational expenses. This was the start to me creating that impact schedule. So just the same information presented slightly different and the full department list in the general fund of changes.
I've been through a number of these, but just to let everyone know, we put it on the YouTube live or whatever it is recorded. When was the last time we did a truth and taxation hearing for property tax?
Last year. Last August.
Well,
Was it 2
that's
years?
the last time we got one.
Yes, let's the last time we got one.
Oh, that would be 3 years.
So we are on a schedule, and it seems like that we do one of these every 3 years.
Well, my guidance that I've
Correct.
received from the council is every other year.
Correct, but I do know in previous councils, but a long time ago, we were very bad about keeping up with the cost of living expenses and doing these property tax increases. We were doing them at every 3 years. So it has been even though we would like to do these every other year, it's been correct. Even though we'd like to do these every other year, it technically has been 3 years since we have done one. So just to kind of put it out there.
But
We
even,
did all the paperwork right this year, right?
Well, we're working through it. Yeah, it's not in August, it's September, so it's not over until like September for me.
but the increase, just looking at, I just did a quick math, it's, 1.05% from a budget year to budget year, which is pretty good. It's not like a
Yeah.
radical increase, even with a lot of the moving parts. Some of the additions we've done, it's not a bad budget number
And that was,
for FY 27.
yeah, that was the point of the very first slide in the presentation of the graph was showing, okay, this is kind of where we're going, this is where we are, and that's not that big of a shift.
Nope, that's a good, reasonable shift.
So this is the imposing of the transient room tax. So, this is and I'm sorry that, we need a bigger TV, I guess. So Alta, I have it listed twice in the chart on the right. So this tax is an option. And it's tied with lodging, short-term rentals, essentially. So in other places, and the guidance from the state and stuff is this is typically used for tourism type of activities. You are a resort community, people are coming to your community, so you should, put money back and invest in those sort of resources. So we have not imposed this. It's been before the council in the past. A couple of years ago, we did impose a 0.01 resort tax increase. This is kind of the last optional tax increase that you could impose.
Sales tax.
Sales tax increase that you could impose. Thank you, Chris. So the list of locations on the right, what I did is I went through the state charts, and anyone that was so our current rate is 15.12. That's the total transient room tax rate, which includes the combined sales tax and the transient room. So these numbers, these four numbers here, these columns get added to create this, and then you add this column and this column to get this column. I spelled it out down below, but I don't know if I can read that.
Jen,
So
do we, is the transient room tax either 0 or 1? I mean, could we enact
Well,
half of it?
so you'll see actually, so it's actually 0, 1, or 1.5.
Oh,
You'll see that Sandy and Moab, you have to go through a whole bunch of requirements with the state, but you could potentially do the 1.5 if you met all of those requirements. We're not proposing that today.
Nor do I think we should.
no, I'm not suggesting, I'm just
right-
wondering.
Yeah, so right now, so I guess when I kind of said this was our last option.
Well, sorry, can I just try to ask Roger a question again? I think what Roger was asking, because could we voluntarily choose to only apply 0.5% as a.
I
I
don't
don't
think
know
so.
about that.
I've always, it's something I can look into.
I haven't seen anything on the chart that's,
I feel like
I never
what
took
I
note
read
of
from
that.
the legislature, it's like the 1 percent. It's like there's not like a middle ground.
Right, it's just that's
like
what
you do it or you don't, yeah.
because they're tracking all of it, so they have their own software tracking stuff that's crunching all these numbers and submitting it to us.
So what I wanted to say about this is that, like you said, it's been before the council before.
Yes.
We have talked about this for many, many years. We've opted to not do this. I do believe that at some point we will have to enact this as a town. The question, I think, is whether we do it now. I have heard from many of our property owners that we are doing a truth and taxation hearing to increase our property taxes to help with our budget. And I've heard many property owners, residential, that have said that they feel that the lodging and the short-term rental should be doing a bit more. I've heard that from people before. I'm not saying that that's right, But I'm just saying that we have had many views of this. I know Rosie and the lodges proposed it with their comment in the letter that they are opposed to this, but on the other side, I've heard many residents do support this because a lot of the people that come to this town bear, you know, our marshal service, they kind of impact us the most, a lot of these people that are not residents, but then our residents do keep getting these every 3 years or every year and a half, a truth and taxation increase. So I just wanted to say that because that is the other side of it, about this, and I do think at some point we are gonna have to enact this. Like I said, whether or not it happens this year, I don't know, but it keeps coming up as one of these things that, like Salt Lake County is blown, their minds are blown that we've never done this. Like every time I talk to Salt Lake County, they're just like, why haven't you guys done this? And we've not done it yet.
So if we're looking at a room in a lodge and that room goes for $500 a night, how much does that change things for you? Did you guys look at that on an individual basis? My lodge tax problem.
You can, I mean, but you can see from the percentage, right? So right now it's 15.12.
Can we
and it would be
16.12?
16.1
So-
if you enacted this.
Okay.
So it's a 1% change to the $500 room night increase.
So it's,
$50.
It's five, it's either,
it's
five
$5.
times 16.12.
It's not $50, it's $5.
It's 5 times 16.12.
500? Oh, the increase.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The increase is $5.
I'm sorry.
$5.
Yeah.
$5.
Yeah.
So $5 a night.
Right.
It's, cause it is interesting to think about that, like if you're thinking about $50 a night to a room, I was like, wow, you know, that might change things, but if you're thinking about the person who's spending $500 a night for a room, okay, your room's now $505, you know? It's not that much. I understand, I don't want the lodges to lose, but when I was trying to make sense of things, you know, cause
No, you have to do, that's why Jen does the chart for the truth and taxation
Yeah.
property tax, you know, we talked
Yeah,
about like
you have
that
to-
$230, it's easier to digest with a dollar.
exactly, like I looked at it and I was like, okay, how much does mine, how much more do I owe?
And so, and I think the arguments here, right? So we haven't imposed it, everybody else around us has. So it's like, why haven't you? Yet, on the other side, you know, we are gonna be the second highest in the state if we approve this. So, you know, are people gonna make decisions?
And that's rooms do cost. I read the input that we had as well, and you know, it is because the rooms are higher up here.
So it's $10 a night for your $1,000 room.
I have a question about the shuttle program. So you are proposing in one of the bullets that if we do enact this, that we change the
Funding
funding
mechanism.
mechanism for so let's say, you know, I think Rosie stated this would impact the Alta Lodge about $32,000. What do you guys contribute now for the shuttle program? 5,000. So I think like that's the other thing that we're trying to, you know, do some of these levers to try to figure out how to lower this impact.
And I don't think we propose that as a quid pro quo.
Correct,
Yes.
yes, it's not,
That would-
for sure.
It's not appropriate.
No, that's not appropriate, but I'm just saying that it is, it looks, I mean, in some ways, we are trying to make this a little bit more digestible. Correct,
Yeah, we're trying to ease,
Correct.
we're trying to
yes.
ease it a little bit and relieving something else.
And I think, I mean, I've watched people pay parking fees for the last couple of years. I watched somebody over the Albion parking lot this year get $150 ticket because they didn't have a parking reservation. And they looked at the 3 people in the car and said, sweet, we'll split this 3 ways, we pay $50 for parking.
I like.
Didn't even like flinch. So part of me just is like, is $5 for a $500 room really gonna make someone decide to not stay at Alta when the road, traffic and the red snake is so awful and you could stay up here? That, I don't know.
So let me just paint a little bit of context on process too for this. So, you know, today you're required to approve a tentative budget. You will have to make a decision on that. We could edit the budget if you so choose. What would happen is after we have a tentative budget, come the June meeting, if you were to support moving this piece forward, I would come to you with an ordinance for imposing this, and then you would have a decision specifically to impose this tax or not.
Yeah, it needs to
And
happen.
that could happen in June, or it could happen later.
Oh,
You know, the
okay.
earliest it could happen is June.
Yes.
You
budget
could also
happen.
have a date, you could set a date out. For when it would get imposed. I mean, usually when we impose something, there's a delay until it gets enacted.
Yeah.
I think it's beneficial to the lodging community when they're trying to set their rates and things and communicate that we do it sooner rather than later.
I always feel like though, like I make a hotel reservation and I'm like, oh, so the hotel is $200 a night. And then by the time you check out, there's all these taxes, one of which is a local tax, and your room was $260 a night, and you thought it was only $200 a night. So I don't know what happens on the hotel, and I usually just like, oh, bummer, the taxes are high. I'm not sure that it doesn't change my behavior.
Does this, so let's say we decide to not move forward with this case, what does that mean for that?
There are two sides to look at this. One, what you were arguing is, and you were saying, is that a $5 change in a $500 room doesn't really affect elasticity demand, so it probably won't do anything on the demand side. The other way to look at it though is, well, that's $30,000 that they said that they would otherwise have, and if we're, and so that's the way the business owners are gonna look at it. That said, I think we have to do that this year, and there are two reasons for that. One, while we're not doing a quid pro quo on the Alta shuttle, I think you guys have rightly suggested that this no longer be voluntary, that we actually move it into funding it out of our tax base. So we've got that, which benefits the lodges, but it's just one of the increases that we're facing this year. More importantly, and I argued this from day one when I got in as a treasurer, is that historically Alta has undercharged the community. They haven't charged it in a manner that funds the depreciation, which is what you need to actually need to fund the replacement cost of buildings. Because if you don't do that, you're facing the situation we are now, where we're gonna have large increase through a bond issue, and most bulk of it's gonna go on property tax. So I don't think we've got a lot of choice here, but I think the reason we don't have a lot of choice is that historically we have undercharged people for the actual costs. And I think and we know this, and I think it's time that we start moving and start charging people for what's a stable, reliable, a sustainable town.
Recognizing that it's not popular, but it's appropriate.
Yeah.
And I just wanna clarify that this budget with revenue from the transient room tax does not do any depreciation funding. We are not.
I understand.
To contribute to the capital fund this year, we are instead budgeting to balance the budget with cash on hand.
Yeah, and you're lowering our cash reserve, so if John Byrne were here, he'd jump up and down, that's not a
Not more than
5%.
5%.
I know, the point is historically, we have budgeted that, so you're draining the cash reserve, that's another reason that we're draining our cash reserve, guys. I think the expenses that we're doing are well justified. I really wanna do the shuttle program. I really think we have to do we don't have to have the overlap with Mike Murray stuff, but it'd be incredibly stupid not to.
Well, I disagree with the last statement, but that's okay.
No,
I think we have to do that.
yeah, okay. But by law is a matter of choice, not a matter of we have to do it legally.
I didn't say it was illegal.
Yes.
I didn't look.
Yeah,
at
no, I
that.
think it'd be incredibly stupid. I mean,
So I guess I'll just make one.
Yeah, bring it back to let's bring it back to the
Somebody
top.
asked a question about if we decide not to go ahead with this, what happens? And I would recommend that we identify some costs to cut, because I don't think you should.
That's what I'm saying.
Cash on hand. So we'll just, take that as comes and.
So I guess, do you need us to start talking about whether we support this part now, or do you want to also wait until we get to the next state? No, item number
Oh,
18.
yeah.
Or when would you like whether or not we, I'm not, I get the impression that maybe, I don't know if
Are
we have
some
full
of us on the
support.
fence?
That's what I'm asking,
Yeah,
I don't know, are some of us on the fence about this, or is
Yeah,
everyone
opposite.
support moving
Keep
forward?
momentum of the conversation going, so if you wanna share
Okay.
their specific.
I
We're not
don't-
taking a vote.
No, for exactly, but I think that, like Chris said, if we don't do this, we're gonna have to make some modifications, which is gonna require some work here in the next little bit.
Right, so that's why we have those slides.
Yeah, so I guess to, as Roger would say, get a gauge of how everyone's feeling, I just wanna. And for the staff, I mean, like I said, this has been before the council before, we've never done it, we've been close before, but we've never done it. I do agree with Craig, I think we need to do it, if it's not this year, it's gonna end up being next year, like, it's going to happen. I don't know if we can hold off on doing it anymore. I don't really don't wanna do it, but I think we have to, so I would support moving forward with it as part of the budget.
If we're moving to the left, as we just sort of move along for consensus, I also think we have to do it, because I feel it's a responsibility as something that's available to the town. Not incorporating Craig's comments, but every other town around us, and it's a resort town, does this as a standard business practice almost, and we are not availing ourselves to it, so I think it compels us to do so.
I don't want to interrupt any council members who just say that.
I think
That's it.
Craig gave his opinion.
Yeah.
And
That was a whole essay.
And after hearing numbers and thinking about it in terms of how, as a consumer, I would view checking in at the Alta Lodge and getting my bill and then having a line for taxes, that's now $100, $120, that's like a local tax. I don't think it's gonna give me tremendous chest pain. So that I believe that we should increase it as well.
Should we see what the mayor says?
Well, with respect to what Carolyn was just talking about, I find it odd that the lodges don't quote, as far as I know, I haven't stayed in one for a long time, the bottom line when they quote the rates. If they say our rate is $500, but your bill is $600, that's
That happens to all to buy anything. I went to the dentist yesterday and they're like, oh, you can pay your credit card, it's gonna cost you another $10. I'm like, well, I don't have any money anymore.
But I think how the lodges present themselves to their clientele is their business. I don't think that's.
I
part
agree,
of-
I agree, but that's I find that a little odd. I think hearing this discussion, I don't think there's any question that we should adopt this transit room tax. It's just a responsible thing to do.
Yes.
Can I make just one more comment? So, we described this as the town's last best option to raise revenues. But I will point out that, we could also choose to raise property tax further. Can't do it this year, that ship has sailed because of, agenda items, the last 14 agenda items or whatever it is, right? Like we've crossed the Rubicon into the property tax increase we've proposed, but could choose to raise it further next year.
Right.
I think that's hard though, when I hear, again, I hear other property tax owners.
Proposing it.
No.
You need to mention the general obligation.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, no, that's.
Because if you raise the property tax now and then you do a general obligation, people are gonna go batshit crazy.
I think what's hard about the transient room tax for our property owners is they see it as these people coming to stay in our town that do use our resources, they are paying for this. We are not telling the lodges to pay this necessarily. Our property tax owners, our residents, they view this as customer is paying this 1% and contributing towards our town's obligations or whatever we do. So for me to go to a property owner and say, so I'm sorry, we're not gonna make the tourists pay, but we're gonna increase you guys again next year, I can't do that. When I could say that the guy who's gonna come in from Texas and doesn't understand Interlodge wants to pay an extra 1% and Mike Morey has to go chase him back inside during Interlodge, like, I'm just saying that we're from the Snow Pine, so it's just really hard for me to go back to a residential property tax owner and just say, yeah, you know, I'm sorry, we're gonna keep charging you guys for all this. And that's what's hard about Salt Lake County. Salt Lake County, every time we talk to them about some things, they're just like, why haven't you done this?
Right, when we ask for money for other things.
Right,
like,
when we ask for money for other things, they
Yeah.
are like, they are just like, you have so many tourists coming to your town that drain your resources, and here's a lever that you are not using.
I remember they did tell us
Yes.
that in the UFSA conversation.
Yeah.
They told us that before, not just in the UFA conversation. They have told us that before when we've asked for funding for things. And the state too sometimes has brought it up when we're just kind of asking for stuff. So again, I think it's just really hard for me to go to a residential property owner and say, I'm gonna keep doing this every other year, but I'm not gonna use this other lever on the tourists.
So does that give you guys what you need for
Yes.
this agenda item?
So,
Are we,
Okay.
I think we're ready to.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one thing I
Yeah.
want to say to Chris, no, excuse me, to Craig, I think you were concerned that that the budget committee did not meet prior to this discussion. Has all this allayed that concern at all?
That was only pro forma.
Okay.
The slide was really good.
Yeah.
All right, very.
So this has been, this has been great.
I've been listening, Craig.
Nice having you
Appreciate it.
guys and for the public in the room.
Yeah, I think it's helpful. I think it's informative in a public way.
Yeah.
Okay,
And so we've talked about this, but impact fees and whether they're good for Alta, so. You know, staff has come up with a recommendation that, you know, this is so heavily mandated by the state. And that our potential, you can only charge an impact fee and you have to have it for something, and Chris, correct me if I start going wrong here. But for additional upgrades, so if your current level, like I'll use the sewer for an example. The sewer system that we have, at least the pipe going down Canyon. Will meet our capacity now, and it should kind of in the future with our build out, right? So. Unless you're proposing buildings that would cause us to need to significantly upgrade the sewer system. An impact fee is not gonna help us, and you have to, there's several reports and you have to do them every 6 years, and they cost like minimum of $10,000 to do. It just, the economics do not work for us and what we think the potential new build in Alta is that's gonna cause us to have to upgrade our services beyond their current capacity level.
You explain it well, Jen, and I think you've been collecting them in the past and you haven't been able to use them because there hasn't been the opportunity to.
Right, like we can't use them for upgrades, we can't
We
use
collect them
them
on the
for-
snow pine, right?
We can't use them for replacement.
We were collecting them in Snowpine? Was that like one of the ones we were collecting it on?
We did.
Yeah,
You can use
but
them.
we can't, you have to use them for very specific things.
Yes,
You
in your
can't
time.
existing deficiencies,
Correct.
so
Yes.
our water system was deficient. We don't have enough fire flow or pressure in a couple zones, we don't have enough storage, we can't, those are existing deficiencies, so impact fees can't fund them. It makes sense if you are converting large tracts of agricultural land to subdivisions, which they are in portions of the state, but not in this one. This one right here, it's worth.
it's interesting too, because when we look at the, building permit fees and how we touched on it, it was reduced this year. That's gonna continue to reduce and eventually zero out.
Yeah.
Because outside of people, if we're gonna tear down the Peruvian and do some other new thing, but like, there's,
Yeah.
right,
Right, yeah,
there's no, these properties are. There are
There's
few,
very
and there are getting fewer,
undeveloped,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, but an offsetting item, Dan, is that our expense for building inspections and so forth should go down as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Capital projects plan.
Yeah, so. I think we've had updates on these and staff reports, the budget committee has discussed them, I think that one of the bigger items on here, it's not really actually. So we wanna fund another architecture project A design or a feasibility programming study for a new building on the site of the post office building. So, we did one of these a few years ago on a new building on a vacant parcel just to our west. But this is essentially where you decide what a building is gonna be and not be, determine a, order of magnitude construction budget. And then come out of it with some kind of design product that we can use to, actually go into contracting. So, we have basically got a scope of work written for this. We need to review with UDOT and possibly other state agencies. And then go to market. Well, we need to get the budget adopted, and the capital project plan. So, Tom Moore, stabilization.
Yeah, this includes a site analysis too, not just the architectural stuff.
Yeah, okay, that's the idea. So, I mean, some input we're looking for from the state is $100,000 in money. So we've had some dialogue with their division of facilities and construction management. They do a lot of architecture, procurement, building design. So anyway, great help. So Tom Moore, cost $100,000 just to stabilize it. We've got like, I thought about changing that number. We have like $22,000 in the capital projects fund. I talked to Devin Weeder today about a UDOT contribution under the EIS as a cultural impact mitigation. So I would never propose the town spend $100,000, I don't think, to stabilize that thing over there, but hopefully we can round up some funds. Fred and Molly have been working on an RFP to hire a contractor to do the work. We also want to do some architecture at OLS, to do things that would essentially require building permits, such as redesigning the stairs and the patio, possibly adding trailhead amenities. We talked about those minor improvements. We need a new truck for the cops. We did some roof safety projects, over there at Alta Central, which is a long time coming. Security cameras, it looks like we didn't make it's a
widow a little bit.
What's the-
The 40,000 is,
Security cameras?
Oh. Oh, jeez.
I think that's okay. I mean.
Maybe that was for the water and I.
Yeah. It's all right. I mean, so the crossover water line was not complete last fall. Last fall. It's set to be completed in the next 6 weeks or so. We've got more money in capital projects planned for this next year than we would for last year. The costs went up due to a couple complicating factors we've discussed. But we were budgeted in fiscal 27 to complete that project, and that is gonna be an awesome upgrade to the water system.
So the 40,000 is that's that number.
Oh, the 40, right, okay.
It's the meter project to kind of just roll it forward.
Right, so it's to continue to install,
The remote meters, yeah.
So the sewer fund, so we're gonna talk about this, a couple agenda items down, but, we're proposing to upgrade the extension of the sewer line from the Albion parking lot up to the proposed trailhead restroom, to enable it to function as a town of sewer main. And then, we are, during fiscal year 27, going to design the Wildcat lot sewer replacement and potentially break ground as well. And then, we do have that sort of great talisman of the capital projects plan on there, which is a new building. It's interesting, we've had $3 million per fiscal year over 3 years on the plan since prior to our facilities master plan. And and as of now, that number seems like it could get us there, at least some kind of a minimum approach to a new building.
The water fund, so Chris was just talking about some of the big projects on the top left there, the Froster water line, remote meters, and then do you wanna talk about the engineering for the?
Yeah, sure. Sure, yep, so we've been including engineering expenses in the budget kind of biannually to queue up a project for the following fiscal year. So we've got, I think it's 30K or 45K in the water fund budget to design the small segment of new pipe to connect West Bermuda Estates to East Hellgate. Improving the fire flows down there, they're the most efficient on the entire town system down there at Hellgate, so. And it has some other benefits, so. Anyway, so that the capital will be next fall this year. We do have a line item to the budget for infrastructure replacement. This is new. We should have been doing it since the system was installed or came into the town's ownership in the early '70s, but we didn't. And we're well in arrears. It's a third of what our engineers recommend we save, but the cost increase would be quite a lot to save that much, so.
So I mean, I think the key numbers on this slide are, you know, the percent increase to the ratepayers in the water system, that's again an enterprise fund, so that 9% there, if you wanna think about that in dollars. The rate goes from 126 to 139 for whatever reason when they did this is all based off ECU values, when they did our ECU values, instead of having a house be 1, it's 1.25, so what it actually means for a single family residence is your monthly bill will go from 157 to 173. So that's that 9% increases, and then I just did some rough estimates for folks on different EC values. That was mostly for like the commercial users, so they can kind of see how that would affect them, but essentially it's a 9% rate increase is the most important thing to support the operations of the water system. And then in the sewer system, it's a 10% increase that we are proposing this year, and I'll let Chris talk about the bigger projects.
Right, so Wildcat Sewer, project number 1, Gold Miner's Daughter, there's a segment of pipe between the gold miners and the basically top of the Wildcat parking lot driveway. It actually traverses the cut slope between the parking lot and the driveway for the most part. It also goes under the parking lot. And kind of there's like a manhole, like under it. It's not quite under the Gold Miner's Daughter, but it's pretty close. So that thing has been a known problem. It's been in really bad shape for a while.
That's where the SAG is?
That's the
The
SAG.
famous
I mean, there
SAG?
are other SAGs, that is the SAG.
No, it's the SAG, it is.
So we want to replace it if we think it'll cost a little under $400,000. We do have that in the budget. Molly is painfully aware that I've been dragging my feet. We've been a little slowed down by some procurement issues essentially. And so anyways, we've got some stuff in motion to get an engineer on board to do that design. The window of opportunity to do this project this summer is closing for a variety of reasons, but we're gonna do our best. And we'll definitely be able to get the design done so that it can be implemented next summer if we can't roll it out this summer.
This is again similar, just a little chart that I did for the water department. But this is just showing what years and how the rates for sewer will change for different ECU values. And again, just the single family residence going from 133 to 136 with monthly.
All right, so this is a couple agenda items down the line, basically.
Dan left. He was here.
Oh, yes.
On this right here.
Yeah.
I was hoping to be here.
Yeah, so the graphic on the right is actually an alignment that the property owners up there had drawn up several years ago. This is not the alignment that is now more or less underway. The alignment that's underway originates on the orange dot, kind of south of and between the two existing Albion base facilities, and it goes up, but the cold storage building is over here, and it goes up here, and it will then
New bathrooms.
hit the rest of the trailer restroom this summer. And so, yeah, the work that we're proposing to fund in fiscal 26 would be to upgrade that segment between the cold storage building and the trailer restroom. It's been a process to determine what's actually necessary to turn it into a sewer between. We hope it's 38K. The budget has 45K in it. So if it goes through, the town will have spent, as much as $70,000 on this upgrade. It could conceivably cost, 750, like 10 times that much to get a sewer main just up to that location without, the ski area having started the project and then the ski area's contractors contributing, some work on a sewer lateral to the restroom this summer, so. Obviously a smoking deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
A big day.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an
How much does it
opportunity
cost?
that I think we should not pass up. If we're gonna put there's gonna be a sewer line to this new trailhead restroom. It makes no sense to not make it compatible with servicing those homes in Emmett Heights and at some future time.
So do I understand that if you think it's gonna cost $40,000 for sewer to those houses, for that $40,000 is just what we already
To
have?
the bath, it's just to the bathroom.
Okay,
That
that's
is,
what I
that is
thought.
the cost of
Something to upgrade.
upgrading a sewer lateral.
And how much does it cost to connect those 3 homes?
Well, we do not assume that we'll cover any additional costs, so from there, it will, once the council takes some other direction. The homeowners will install the connection from the neighborhood down to the restroom.
Okay.
And they're in like, I think what the sewer line is going into the bathrooms. Right, so, and it's like at one level, but to upgrade it to like what the residents need is with the 40,000 that we're paying.
Yeah.
Cause you.
Oh, I
It's
just
considered a lateral.
Residents. Okay,
Yeah,
but residents would pay for the connection themselves.
Correct, but yeah,
It's an extension from there, basically,
Okay.
they want it.
yeah, but we're paying the town because the bathroom thing's already happening, we're gonna pay to make it
And we're giving them
residential.
put their sewer pipe in should they choose
We're
to.
making the pipe bigger.
Okay, for
Yeah, yeah.
$40,000.
Right.
That's
It's a good deal.
Yeah.
okay. See,
That
we-
number, Chris, has bounced around a lot.
Yes, indeed.
May 13th, I suppose this is the most current version.
One of those things that
You
you
got that
probably,
between 13.
Well, manholes for 10-inch pipe are $25,000 a piece, and they're probably going up from there. And the original design to upgrade it had 4 of them. So there's your $100,000 and. Anyway. Now it's only got 1. Hopefully it stays that way. Have some yellow wafers.
That's it for.
Well done.
Nice, and I definitely wanna acknowledge and thank the members of the budget committee, Rogers. Also on it,
It was really clear.
yeah,
It was really good.
I say this every year, but I feel like our presentations on the budgets just get better and better. And I hope that, I know when we brought Craig in as treasurer, the idea was to try to make this process very transparent to the public, and I hope that it's improved.
Yeah.
Because I know this stuff is complicated.
yeah, and hopefully this sort of presentation. Then if you go and you look at my 15-page budget document, you can make a little bit more sense of it than you might have been able to move before. That's the goal anyways, so.
Cool.
Are we on to item 18?
So.
Item 18 is gonna be another fun one.
Shall I, Mayor, would you, with your permission, I can introduce this?
Please do.
I could use, agenda item 18, discussion and possible action to adopt resolution 2026-R-9. Adopting proposed tentative budgets for fiscal year 2027 and acknowledging that a separate item is included on the agenda for the public meeting on May 13th, 2026. Notifying the public that the budget officer intends to make a statement as required by section 59-2-919 4B of the Utah Code. Acknowledging that the budget officer or executive made the statement as required by section 59-2-919 4 of the Utah Code, assuming a B in there as well. Setting the date, time, and place of the public hearing on the proposed property tax increase as required by section 59-2-919 of Utah Code. And directing the town manager to send notice before June 1st, 2026 to the Utah State Tax Commission and the Salt Lake County auditor stating that the town is considering a property tax increase and the date, time, and place of the public hearing required by section 59-2-919 of Utah Code.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, motion made by Councilmember Morgan, seconded by Councilmember Schilling. Roll call vote, Councilmember Ansel,
Yes.
Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
and Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, we've finally gotten to number 19, discussion possible action to adopt resolution 2026 R10, amending the fiscal year 2026 budgets.
Yes, and so the summary of this agenda item is, sometimes I feel like when the clerk's report's separate for the budget, maybe stuff gets missed, but this is to, make the adjustment for the sewer piece extension, or upgrade, I should say. And then also, we realized that we, had not paid on, some meteorology contracts stuff that we had that we contribute. There's a whole conglomerate in the community for Mike Cook's services to provide local weather forecasting, and we had missed a certain year, so need to update the budget so we can honor our commitment to that.
I move that we adopt resolution 2026-R-10, amending the fiscal year 2026 budgets to incorporate the verbiage just shared by the town clerk.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, was there any discussion, Mayor?
Any discussion?
I just wanted to make sure you weren't gonna make a comment.
All right.
Motion by Councilmember Schilling, seconded by Councilmember Morgan. Roll call vote, Councilmember Ansel,
Yes.
Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
and Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Number 20, discussion and possible action to adopt resolution 2026, adopting the capital projects plan.
Just keeping everything, all the numbers and all the various documents the same.
I move that we adopt resolution 2026-R-11, adopting the capital projects plan, incorporating all the previously discussed items at this town council meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Schilling, seconded by Councilmember Morgan. Roll call vote, Councilmember Ansel,
Yes.
Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
and Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion
Okay,
passes.
moving on to the, motion passed. Moving on to the mayor's report. Is that the next item? I think it is. Yeah, 21.
It is.
Okay, Mike Bond sent a letter co-signed by me with the council's concurrence to Devin Weeder, expressing our joint preference for 2 bus stops in Alta, 1 at each base, and also advocated for express buses to Alta that bypass Snowbird. I don't know if Mike has gotten any response to that letter, but that letter was sent out very close to what we looked at last month. Item 2, the CWC is going to commission a study of visitor or of capacity or visitor use management study of the Wasatch Range. The charter is in progress and request for information will be issued this summer. Meanwhile, a steering committee has been appointed consisting of Aaron Mendenhall, who's the Salt Lake City mayor, me, Emily Gray of Holiday, Mayor Zoltansky, Monica Zoltansky of Sandy, and Laura Briefer of Salt Lake City, Public Utilities, Jack Strauss, who are Save Our Canyons, and John Adams, who's a CWC stakeholders. I've been asked to chair that undertaking. And so I think it would be prudent for us to make our contribution to the CWC under the circumstances. So, okay. In late April, I attended the Utah League of Cities and Towns Conference in St. George. Among the presentations I took in were those on water policy, truth in taxations, wildland fire, particularly what happens when it gets to a propane tank, grandma and AI, population projections. In 30 years, Utah will add more people than currently reside in 12 states to a population of 6 million. How that will ever be supported by the amount of water is mysterious to me. I learned that 70% of the homes in Park City are second or third or fourth homes. In Alta, the number is close to 90%.
That's
This,
all right.
I also learned that there's this phenomenon called BLEVE. I guess we don't have any fire persons in the crowd, do we? Boiling
No.
liquid evaporative vapor ignition, which means when you get a fire around a propane tank and it blows out the valve, out goes a jet, which is then ignites, and it's quite a sight. And I should note that all the Albion Basin cabins and 3 homes in Emma Heights have propane tanks. I use this opportunity to connect with municipal officials in some similar circumstances, including those in resort communities. The most rewarding part was when someone spots my badge, notices I'm from Alta, comes up to me and tells me what a great place it is, and we hope that it will remain that way. And that reinforces my resolve to keep Alta Alta. A particularly intense El Nino is developing over the Western Pacific. It's expected to bring warmer than average summer to northern Utah, accompanied by increased fire risk due to dry conditions and low initial snowpack. While the summer will likely be hot, the strengthening El Nino pattern may influence the later part of the year, potentially affecting the 26-27 winter season, and will increase moisture to the region. So hang on to your snow shovel and your raincoat. Once in a while, and I think Brooke has a picture she can put up of this. Once in a while, something comes along to my job that I really enjoy. And that happened last month when I was invited to visit the Alta School. At their request, I read them a book, Dr. Seuss's What Pet Should I Get? And we talked about making hard choices, and all you have to do is, and all of us have to do that, but some of those are when one is in government. And that led to things like discussion of what local government does for people, like safety and making sure that water comes out of the tap when you turn the valve, and it goes down when you flush the toilet. So all in all, it was a very good day. In fact, one of my best, I could say. On to the astronomy report. I've been encouraged to expand on the recent Artemis II mission, particularly the flight path elements, which were poorly presented by the popular press. I've been trying to compress 5 centuries of astronomy into 5 minutes, and I haven't gotten there yet. So I'll keep working on that till next month. Meanwhile, I'll go back to Saturn and finish up explaining what causes the rings and why they're the way they are. So, there's a picture before that goes with the URL.
I don't have that.
You don't have the URL either? Okay. All right.
No.
Well, we'll go to the one with all that stuff.
Moons.
Yeah. Now, why are the rings like this? Really a bunch of little particles. In the 1800s, astronomers wondered why there were no planets inside Mercury. It was worked out in 1848 by Edouard Roche, a French astronomer. And the explanation goes like this. When there's a planet closer to the sun, the side that's closer to the sun is being attracted more strongly than the side that's away from the sun. So it creates a stress inside the planet or this rock, and it breaks it up. And that's apparently what happened at Saturn. Some satellite got close to Saturn, and that phenomena dissolved that, or didn't dissolve, broke up that satellite. And what's left are these jillions of particles making up these spectacular rings. But it's not stable over geologic time, and if we were to come back in a few million years, it would look different. But right now, it looks kind of like what we have on the screen. And while I'm at Saturn, I want to, I can't help you but show you one additional image, which I found on the wall of my optometrist's office. And this is Saturn as seen not from Voyager, but from a satellite of a spacecraft that went to Saturn called Cassini. And of course, we're on the back side of Saturn, on the non-sun side of Saturn. So the sun is behind the planet as we see it. But if you'll notice this little spot down there, that's the Earth as seen from out there. Okay, the next town council meeting is scheduled for June 17th at 4 p.m. and that ends my report. And so we can go on to the other items of business. I can find them. Approval of the town council minutes and the May staff and finance reports. I will entertain a motion to approve those things.
Looking at me, I move that we adopt the April 8th, 2026 town council meeting minutes and the May staff and finance reports.
Jay, all in favor? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous. Any discussion? Motion passes. Are there any questions regarding the department reports?
I want to make a comment for the marshal who's busily working on something in the corner. It was great to see Deputy Spencer rolling through town patrolling this week and talk with him. So I think on behalf of all of us, we're glad he's here.
Indeed. Welcome back. Any other questions regarding department reports? All right, new business.
I've one, Mayor. I'm going to introduce the thing. A celestial observation. It turns out, I learned this, the heels of the mayor's report, that if you were to count all the planets inside the Milky Way galaxy, our galaxy where we reside,
yes,
at the rate of 1 planet per second without stopping, it would take us 100,000 years to count the number of planets in the Milky Way galaxy.
That's cool.
And there are 2 trillion galaxies.
Good.
I find that statistically interesting. I got that from Brian Cox.
I think I saw Jen's head explode with that number.
I try not to think about things that big.
Yeah, a lot of stuff out there that we really don't have much contact with. Okay, under new business, I discovered in my travels to St. George that there is an activity, a very decentralized activity called America's Potluck, which is being promoted by a bunch of entities, but would be locally done. It's on Sunday, July 5th, 2026. And people are just asked to voluntarily come and bring stuff for a potluck. And my question of you is, should we do that? We could have it at the town park. It would be, volleyball would be the entertainment that would be naturally there on a Sunday afternoon. And shall we, it's not really sponsored, but at least the town could promote such a thing. And what do you think?
Can we all go as council members if somebody was if people of the public were to ask us questions about town business, can we talk to them?
If you're in like a one-on, I mean, we would post it saying a possible quorum, you know, quorum of the council is gonna be at this location. As long as you're not discussing it amongst
Or making
yourselves.
decisions, obviously. But I guess my question is, I think this would be really good idea for us to do, mostly because I feel like it's a great opportunity for people to ask us questions. Especially with the stuff that's going on with the possible bond and all these other things that we have upcoming in our budget. So that's why I ask. I think it'd be great to do this, Roger. I just want to make sure we're following.
No, what's great about that is when they bring those questions up, we'll point them to Craig.
We could hold that from the great. We could avoid the conversation, you know, we could avoid, you know.
No,
The trick gonna be, don't be in pods of three.
Yeah, we got it.
What,
Or
what'd you say,
two
Polly?
people and
Don't be in pods of 3 council members.
Gotcha,
So,
okay.
well, you can't discuss
but
anything.
but ideally, if someone's talking to Craig about, it, you don't all 5 wanna be around listening to what he's answering.
Oh, if Craig's talking, I'll wander off.
Yeah, there you go.
Roger, I think this is a great idea, under your mantra of keeping Alta Alta. It's a small town and we should act like a small town. This is very good community building.
Yeah, and at the risk of digressing again, you know, the 90% vacancy of our town, I had a conversation with a citizen who was lamenting the fact that we don't get the ability to converge as a town enough. Because there are so few people that are just up here. I
What
think it's
time
great.
are you proposing?
Yeah, when is this? When are we
July
thinking
5th.
about doing?
Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
It's a Sunday.
Wait, July
It's a Sunday. So we'll have built-in entertainment, namely the volleyball normally plays on
And,
Sunday.
yeah, we'll wanna make sure we
Fireworks stuff.
say that this is gonna
Prepared.
happen, so they're. The normal stuff that goes on there prepared to have some.
I'm gonna guess not all of us are gonna be able to come anyway, so we probably won't have a problem with the quorum, but.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
guessing Sunday.
Yeah,
But
but,
yeah, no, I think it's great, Roger, you can do it.
okay.
So like six
Uh,
PM or earlier? Did somebody say, I didn't hear a time.
I didn't hear a time
I can't-
either. So,
Volleyball starts 2 or 3.
Like 5?
Yeah.
Let's do 5.
yeah, I think the volleyball starts at 5. So, you know, and people are gonna straggle in and out, so, you know, I don't know when the official start would be, 4:30 or something.
I was gonna ask UFA, they're not here, but they do sometimes do a pancake breakfast in the
They
summertime.
were at the office talking about that yesterday.
Okay, so
We're-
that was the other thing that our community does like, is when UFA does a pancake breakfast.
I don't know what
Next year.
Next
Okay.
year.
Yeah, it comes out of their budget, so they have to.
Correct.
Yes, but.
The 4th of July pancake breakfast, cold pancakes and cold bacon.
They have a great pancake.
That's my experience.
They're very good.
No, okay, I say expect a lot from 113.
I think we're gonna see more, advertisement for this, activity, coming up on, the press, you know, so we won't be all alone, in this, this America's Potluck business. All right, I think the next item is, does anybody else have any new business? All right, so let's,
I'll tell Roger real quick. I told Mike Mon wasn't here to talk about, but as you all know from the email he sent to Roger, he is leaving. And I did tell Roger that when he told the management meeting the 29th, that he cried. He couldn't even get out what he was trying to say, that he was that's how upset he was. So this isn't something that he was taking very lightly, but that is kind of a new thing that we will be dealing with.
Elise Morgan for GM.
Can we get do a town resolution? Can we do a town?
4-year-old.
I hear a draft developing.
I also just wanna recognize Elton was just received the gold.
We did. We received the Golden Eagle Award, which is Environmental and Sustainability Excellence from the NSAA, which is the National Skier Association. It's actually the 3rd time Elba's won it. And then in the past, Mara has won the Hero of Sustainability Award, which is awarded by them. So it's, yeah. But I think we were up against, Altera, Aspen and Vale.
And you rightfully won.
We won.
Congratulations, that's really cool.
Yeah. Any other new business? Okay, with that, we will close that item and go to discussion and possible action to commence a closed meeting to discuss matter authorized by Utah Code Section 52-4-2051A, having to do with.
So move.
Okay,
Right.
Second.
Okay,
roll call.
that was very fast. I'm excited about those.
So, I get a motion by Councilmember Schilling, a second. Councilmember Morgan, roll call vote, Councilmember Ansel,
Yes.
Councilmember Hemrick,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
and Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Okay, so as a matter of how these operations go, what we're gonna do is we are gonna close down the webinar. Everyone is going to, that doesn't need to be in the meeting, you know, if you need to be in the meeting, is going to leave the room. And then when you are done, somebody will come down, Mayor Brooke will get you connected. And then we're gonna leave the room, the council can meet, and then we'll come back and restart and adjourn the regular part of the meeting.
I think Brooke has sent me a link, so we'll give that a try. All right, but I'm leaving.
It's an email from me.
See you soon.
All right, it's email from you. Got it. All right.
Yes, yeah,
Let's take 5 minutes until we convene this.
that'll help us get set up. Thank you.
See you then, Mayor.
All right.